big impact. I think that it does to an extent, sure. Also, min-maxing food portions. Taco Bell. This is so bad, they are literally getting sued for it. So what this means is that, like, you know, you see the advertisement and it's like, wow, this looks really good, and then you get it and it's like a tortilla with like 3 bits of like ground beef in the middle, right? And the ground beef came from 3 days ago. So that's a big problem, right? They also compete with gig jobs, which give you full control over your schedule. Yeah, that's why employee satisfaction, that's like just it's a meta thing, right? The other night, my tacos weren't even 10% filled. Yeah, exactly. And consistency. And I think that the biggest thing, by the way, guys, is this right here. It is that if you go to a fast food restaurant in a poor area, you are going to get garbage. And if you go to a fast food restaurant in a upper middle class or upper class area, you will not get garbage. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons, man. Review service and food is all-time low. I've been cleaned all day. Yeah, it's because also people get overworked. Nobody wants to work there. I think these are the real reasons why fast food has gone to shit. What do y'all think? Y'all agree with these? Y'all agree with this or what? Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's what I think. Pretty spot on. That's it. Yeah, that's what it'd be. They changed it from dollar towards value. Yeah, bro, like that dollar menu to value menu shit. Like, you think we didn't notice that? Like, get the fuck out of here. You're trying to fool me with that shit.
Hey everyone, this is John Moran. Today we're going to be talking about demand gen campaigns and why they might look like they're doing better than they actually are. Always verify things with data. That's what this is going to teach us. So we have a campaign that has been running for a little over 3 weeks for the client now, and it's a demand gen campaign here. Now, we spent in the last 30 days, since it hasn't been running the full time, but we spent $30,000 since August 28th, and it's now September 18th. So about 20 days spending 30 grand. We've actually seen some pretty massive changes in the account that looked good initially, but that kind of fell apart as soon as you start to dig a little bit deeper. So I'll share with you the top line results. Costs peaked on August 24th at 33K and at September 14th at 35K. So pretty much, you know, the same cost, give or take like 2K. But conversions peaked at 137 and then peaked at 377. So that's a massive increase in conversions, and it all has to do with this new demand gen campaign. This demand gen campaign is all of a sudden seeing 1,500 conversions. It's our biggest conversion generator in the account, or so we thought. Let's split it in half and actually kind of dive in. Let's take a look a little bit closer as to what we're seeing. So looking at the last 14 days compared to the previous 14 days, you can see the cost went up 9.48%, but the conversions and the conversion by conversion time are both up 80% or more. So that's a massive increase for same cost, and all of a sudden being able to get go from 1,400 conversions, adding 1,100 to it to 2,500. That is huge. Why? Demand gen. Demand gen shows that it went from 205 to 1,334. That's a big increase. That's a 550% increase. It's only a 52% increase in cost. So when things are too good to be true in Google Ads, most likely is. So we started to dig a little bit deeper. We started to look at the conversion actions. We see that the demand gen has that info kit request all of a sudden spike up like crazy. And so we looked and said, well, where are these coming from? We see that the info kit request here went from 744 up to 1,400. That's a 90% increase. That's amazing. We should see some good qualified leads from that. Well, we didn't. We actually saw less by time, a little bit more by click. So I actually lost 7% here, and I gained 1%. That's odd. Qualified leads means that people have been contacted and they're interested. Now, you can say conversion delay, but that's not really necessarily a thing. In the last 14 days compared to the previous 14 days, it's only down 7. If we had 90% more leads, I should have more qualified leads. Where are they? And that's what I'm saying. We're importing these back in. I was like, what? Where would they be going? If we're importing these leads back in, I should see a higher volume. And that's when we started to dig into what type of conversions it was. When you look at ad event type, we can see that the demand gen has an engaged view conversion that has spiked up to 1,000 more than it did the previous 2 weeks. It went from 205 to 1,334. Now, yes, clicks started to increase, which is good. Now, relevant to the cost, it's about average. But when you're about for all of the other campaign types. But when you look at the actual engaged view conversion, that went up 847%. That's why these people aren't in our system. They're not newer people. They're just people that were going to be converting anyway, that simply were shown an ad. And the way you identify that is by looking at the format. Video only will actually tell you that demand gen here, for example, has 1,325 conversions in skippable in stream. So YouTube, we see this with YouTube quite often, where if you're not removing the warm traffic, when you're not excluding 90 days worth of website visitors or more if you want to, but when you don't exclude the website visitors, the YouTube portion of any campaign type, whether it be Demand Gen, PMAX, or YouTube, will start to get a crazy amount of engaged view conversions to people who are already going to convert. Now, one of the reasons why this is going to happen inside of Demand Gen is because in our YouTube campaigns, it stayed healthy because we're hitting a target CPA. So target CPA is kept it from spiking up, but with maximized conversions, it doesn't matter where it's going to attribute these. It's going to find them anywhere it can. And so it's found a bunch of warm audiences that it gets to take all of the engaged view attribution for. Now, that's what's interesting here, is we didn't actually see any new traffic to the site. We didn't, or a little bit new, but not as much. Not 550% more leads attributed. They didn't have UTM parameters either. We saw an increase in UTM parameters, but where we didn't actually see the people filling out the form with the UTM parameter of demand gen means that this is the reason why. We didn't really have much of an increase in leads. We didn't have much of an increase in the UTMs attributed to demand gen, but Google was saying, hey, it's doing 550% better this last 2 weeks than the previous 2 weeks. So that was verified by CRM data, but also verified that when you look at that conversion action, the conversion action of these info kit requests here didn't match the qualified leads that we had. They were the same leads. Now, the other part you can say, well, is creating demand. Okay, so when we're looking at the brand campaign, I am vastly outspending what I can actually attribute as a daily ad spend. What that means, if I look at the last 7 days for a quick example, and I segment by time and by day, we have some slight ads limited by policy. That's not the reason, only 1 out of 96, but I'm trying to spend $45,000 a day with manual CPC, and I'm getting a click share of 94.24. I am capturing literally every single person that would ever Google our brand ever, and I can only spend about $14,000 to $15,000 per day. Okay. So if we're looking at, I am spending everything I possibly can over the last 14 days compared to the previous 14 days with these 1,000 new people are interested in our info kit, I should see more branded search, more branded leads. I'm not. I'm actually seeing 14% less inbound branded searches. So, or inbound branded conversions. So it's not necessarily generating demand. I'm still capturing the same amount of click share as well. So my cost per conversion has spiked up a bit. My cost has stayed about the same. My conversions are dropping, but that's also due to those split attributions. So because Google can split attribution with things, I'm seeing click engage conversions go down. My YouTube campaigns are also suffering the same fate though. So when you see our YouTube campaign here, let's do video, some campaigns are actually losing performance, and they're losing performance over a longer period of time. So that's what's kind of crazy is some are going from 77 down to 42. This one stayed about the same. This new one here is can't be attributed to that. But then our main campaign is also losing. So my main campaign is losing, stay the same. This one's getting. So we're seeing less YouTube. We're seeing about 10 to 50% less YouTube, which is equating to 10 to 15% less inbound branded search. Because we've been running YouTube for a long time, the only outliers is demand gen. But demand gen is now producing 550% more leads. What ends up happening, and one of the reasons why we actually don't even charge this client for the branded ad spend, is because this client has a lot of additional traffic. They have traffic from major news networks, major influencers. I mean, national TV brand, not announcers, but like people with their own talk shows. They are influencers for this brand. This brand has a great organic traffic. We are specifically targeting very cold traffic. Demand gen is targeting warmer traffic and simply inserting itself into the conversion path, showing an ad to a person that is ending up converting within the same 3 days that that campaign type is going to be tracking a gate view conversion, counting it its own, spiking spend, getting 1,000 more conversions, but our brand is actually suffering. Our brand search actually suffering conversions because of it. So is it generating demand, or is it attributing more existing demand to itself? That's the question. We're going to be going through a top line study to see how much actual more new leads we got that was qualified, because right now it is the exact same. With a 80% increase in overall account growth, our actual leads amount are the same, and our brand campaign is actually having less generated demand. So this is John Rand. We're going to have more for you, but I wanted to give you this quick tip just to say investigate a little further, because if I saw my cost per conversion cut in half and get 80 and 85% more conversions after running demand gen, you could be really inclined just to triple or double that ad spend, because this looks amazing. You've never seen this before. Always dig a little bit deeper, always understand your conversion path, always measure NCAC. Those will protect you. Make sure you triangulate your metrics that you see inside of Google Ads, because sometimes it's just Google getting better at attribution, and you'll be the one to lose if you base your long-term metrics off of Google's KPIs. Thank you so much. Bye.
Time has come. If you're tired of being a solo combatant in the battle against the evil empire that is Google, if you're tired of being lied to, given tools that don't work and recommendations that put you at a disadvantage, if you're tired of desperately trying to claw your way back to where you used to be only to see yourself slip down again,
Keep It Quilted means you keep it the best. 3 layers of plush comfort you can see and feel. Keep It Quilted keeps a mood and puts your comfort above all else. Keep It Quilted because the best parts of your life deserve the best.
They're here!
So don't settle for anything less. Keep It Quilted with Quilted Northern.
Start just by talking a little bit about Ghost before we get to your questions.
Look at that penguin.
I want to stress we're in early development, and that means the art and ideas are not final, and that's the whole point. We want to share all this with you early so that we can get feedback, make changes, and make the game better before we are finally live. We think the right way to tackle a project as big as an MMO is to be careful about where and how we innovate. We think this is a risk when you try to innovate too much. That's what leads to a MMO with a dev cycle of 10 to 15 years, and ain't nobody up here wants that.
Ashes of creation.
We're going to be really careful where we do innovate. A great example are, several of us came from World of Warcraft, and we love WoW's Dungeons and Raids. We don't think there is a lot we need to do there differently. We'll put our own spin on it. It's a different game. It's a different IP. But overall, we're not going to spend a lot of points innovating on things like that.
That's fine. Just do it like Classic, though.
We think adventuring, like going out into the world, doing quests, kind of figuring out where you're supposed to go next, has not aged super well. And we think that is a great opportunity to innovate.
That's true.
So I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, true.
So our game is set in a
really
shattered
nice.
world where players look out into the sky from a mysterious ancient city and see countless shards of broken worlds waiting to be discovered. This is some of our latest concept art for that setting, but I also want to show you how this has already evolved. When the team was first brainstorming about the world, I got excited and made my own sketch of how the shards might float above the city. And everyone teased me about it mercilessly. And so I drew it again in Photoshop where it looked tiny bit better, and we used this for our first several pitch decks.
I get it.
This is what game development looks like. It starts looking pretty bad, you make it better and better, you hire better artists that can actually draw, and eventually you should be able to produce something pretty cool.
Yeah.
Our
I
art
used to be a
teams
game
took these
developer when I was 6
concepts
years old.
and got us to our latest vision, which we'll continue to experiment with further. This is by far not the final way the game will look. So you probably get the idea that one of the major focuses for us is creating 2 different types of world shards for players to explore. We're calling these red shards are like more traditional MMO zones with lots of danger, dungeons, and world bosses. This is where you'd find most of the dungeons and raids in the game, and other players, particularly strangers, are really important here. A player on Twitter compared them to WoW's Timeless Isle, and that's a great way to think about it.
Okay, sure.
And then our blue shards will be more of a private realm for you and your friends. The design draws on some inspiration from survival games, but it's not about starving or freezing to death. It's more about you charting your own path the way you want. And while the red shards offer a consistent theme park experience for every player, the blue shards open up individualized and different sandboxes for you and whoever you choose to let in with you.
Okay.
The basic loop of Ghost when you play is you'll go back and forth between the blue shards and red shards. Perhaps you need an important reagent for your next upgrade that can only be found in the red shards. Or maybe your friends let you know that a rare boss just appeared and that boss drops great loot, but you'll need to assemble a small army to go and dispatch it. These accomplishments are then things you can bring back to further improve your character and the blue shards. Now, we think the opportunity here is that when you're playing on a blue shard, your actions will be permanent, whether you deplete a mine or clear out a dragon's lair. If you want to build a village for you and your friends, there won't be random players walking through to mess up the experience.
I think there should be.
If you want to set up a guild versus guild PvP shard, you won't have to worry about random arrivals later on causing an imbalance. But without random players, you don't really have an MMO, right? So the red shards are where you get that massive multiplayer experience that we all love.
Yeah.
Now, it's easy to talk about world shards in a way that sounds really dry or even disconnected, and honestly, systems designers are really good at doing that, which is why developing the world of Ghost is really important to us as well. Our goal is for Ghost to be immersive, mysterious, and worthy of your time and investment.
Okay.
We take inspiration from everything from Elden Ring to D&D's Planescape.
Great.
Because we want the world of Ghost to be a fresh take on the fantasy genre, we're experimenting with a lot of different types of creatures and races you'll encounter. And that work even carries into class design. We want to have a lot of classes, and while you probably won't find something as basic as warrior or mage, some of the classes will be familiar, and then some of them will honestly be a little weird, like this room.
I think they should just
we
use
hope everyone
warrior
create
and mage.
characters and find classes that fit the playstyle they love.
It's like they don't want to reinvent the wheel, but now they're doing it.
So experimenting with different classes should feel rewarding and not like you're falling behind. Our classes are organized into different factions, and these factions are working secretly against each other, sometimes with each other, to determine the future of the city. The factions don't limit who you can play with. This isn't about preventing you from playing with your friends. They're just there to give the classes some depth and motivation to help drive our narrative.
Got it.
You can see here some visual exploration of one of our earlier factions. But I want to stress, not every faction would adopt this art style, and there will be a gamut from dark and serious to cute and silly, and probably even dangerously
sexy. Bro, look at that. That's badass.
So with that, we'd like to get into some of your questions, and I want to introduce one more member of the team. John is our biz guy, and he is going to be our MC for today.
Hey, John.
Yay, John.
Hey, everyone. So I've nominated myself responsible for reading the questions out to the team.
It must be so awkward for him to be the only person that's not sitting down.
Heavy-hitting question, but it was one of the most upvoted. So Towel the Tank asks, will there be tanks in your game? And if so, how many?
Well, I'm not
Towel the
surprised.
Tank.
I know Towel is a great guy, so I'm not surprised that his tweet was well liked.
Towel the Tank. I know who that is.
Yes, there are certainly going to be tanks in our game, but I think we want to look at and revisit what tanks mean to the group in terms of gameplay, right? What do they do on a second-per-second basis? Does the boss always have to be hitting them or their tank buddy? Could it just be that there are key moments where the tank needs to be there to defend
what I want to
see
tanks be like?
Huge attack? Or is it possible that
in Lost Ark.
There's just a big guy in the
That's
group
a
that,
new
like
take
we
on
see
tanks.
Marvel's Endgame, that the Hulk's got to match up with the big brute
That's what I want to see.
Thanos' crew there. So just trying to find, and explore different options there. And that could mean that we have, some tanks that are in melee as they traditionally are. Maybe we have pet class tanks. Maybe we have range tanks.
Okay.
I don't know. It'd be cool to hear what you all think about those types of things. And when we do experiments and explore that, have you try them and see what you think.
I think that's something that you evolve into.
So thanks for the great question.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Brian.
I think you evolve
This next
into.
one's for you, Shanti, from Ritzadet,
Like with
who
pets
asks,
and shit.
will the game's story, world, and inhabitants treat each player character as if they are the
Great
hero?
question. Holy
great
shit,
question.
good question.
I hate this website so much.
Oh my god, I hate this website. Oh my god, this is such a...
It's a fact. In the new economy, average people are becoming millionaires faster and easier than ever before. But how do they do it? According to the news, the whole world's falling apart. Well, that's the million-dollar question. Now, if you're not interested in the million-dollar answer, go ahead and skip to the end of this video, and I'm sorry for wasting your time. But if you do want to know more, keep watching, and in the next 60 seconds, I'm going to teach you the fastest way that I've found to become a millionaire in the new economy.
Sell stuff online.
Hi, my name is Jeff Lerner, and I did not become a millionaire the traditional way. I didn't work 40 years for the man.
What we're going with is something much closer to
I'm so sorry,
Destiny
guys.
does it, for an example, where you're part of an elite crew, an elite group that has powers greater than the average NPC or civilian you see on the
Sure,
street.
okay, that's fine.
This gives us room to introduce NPC characters, develop their arcs alongside you, and kind of have it feel like, you know, you don't have the entire burden of the universe on your shoulders. You have others to bear it with and adventure alongside.
That's good. I think being an adventurer is the good thing to do.
All right, next question over to Candice from at xmadson. What is the reason for having blue shards and red shards? It seems like blue shards are their own survival game base builder. Can't this exist in the red shards or vice versa?
I think the superpower of our game is in the blue shards. And when we say that you're going to play blue shards, it could mean that you're just playing one blue shard for the entire season or the entire expansion, just like building and decorating your base and killing monsters and stuff like that.
Like
but it can
Valheim.
also mean that you're playing several blue shards. You could play hundreds of blue shards or maybe even just dozens. The idea behind blue shards is that we're always going to give you a lot of variety. So we love exploration. We love the exploration element of survival games. And since these blue shards are kind of generated just for you and your party, we can always throw some cool, like, wacky surprises at you. Like, what if it hailed razor blades and you had to keep shelter nearby? Or what if the world was just slowly crumbling around you and you had to, like, collect as many resources you can and get the hell out before it falls? So one is like the exploration angle. Two is the shared progression. We love shared progression in survival games. So things like upgrading your crafting bench so that everyone else can use that crafting bench, and like submitting your recipes to it, and like that sense of community that you really only get in survival games. And now imagine you can take that character, you can take that community, and then like inject that into the traditional MMO that has all the raids and dungeons, and you're getting like a mix of your gear from both of these blue shards that you're investing in, that you're playing multiple of, and then the red shards that you're more used to doing things like instant story, dungeons, raids, world bosses, all the cool stuff. Like we really want to concentrate the cool stuff about like the open world experience.
It should be red shards,
so
right?
that we can kind of like divide the experience between like, here's your exploration loop and here's your like static loop.
I feel like this concept might be too...
Okay, I'll toss the next question over to Ed. This one comes from at Mystical OS, who asks, do you plan on supporting UI
This guy's
mods?
the guy that made
Will it be
DBM.
curtailed to not create the arms race present in WoW, or will you take the Final Fantasy approach?
This guy made DBM.
Ooh, that's a good one. Spicy. I know, it's spicy. Thanks for the question, Mr. OS. Big fan.
Yeah.
So I think you've astutely called out like that there is a pretty big risk to doing something like add-ons in the context that say like WoW does them, right?
I don't
Where
want add-ons.
You can get to the point where you've got all these interesting fights with great mechanics, and then you have people who are sort of just in this arms race with the developer to like build add-ons that play the game for you, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Foji and WoW Classic for doing this for my raid in Wrath of the Lich King. So I think that's something that we probably don't want as much of. I think the combat modifying add-ons world is probably not one we want to live in. But
the normal ones are not
while
that
we don't
bad.
know exactly what we're going to do, there's probably some great use cases for exploring add-ons, and I'll try to talk about a couple of them.
Sure.
So, like, examples that come to mind for me are things like, imagine that there is an accessibility feature that we maybe just haven't been able to prioritize yet, but a passionate developer in the community could build it for the game, and that could enable new people to play who wouldn't otherwise be able to play. Like, I think that's awesome. And likewise, there are just players who have strong preferences about how their UI should look, and they may not be in the realm of what the base customization in the game allows. And so allowing someone to serve those needs, I think, is good. So I'm not exactly sure where we're going to go. One thing I can say is,
this is a good answer.
I think we know that we have a responsibility to ensure that a player can download, pick up, and play our game without using add-ons, if that was something that we had.
So they don't want to make
and
it
not
like
have to
retail
worry
WoW.
about, like, we've all probably experienced that thing where we're trying to onboard a friend. It's like, okay, download the game, then
have
like
to download
install
a
these
program.
80 add-ons,
In
right?
2 hours,
Yeah,
we'll play
exactly.
together.
And then like
Half of them are
6
broken.
hours later, after you've configured them, you're tired and you don't end up playing. So like, I think we want to avoid that world no matter what.
Yeah.
And TBD on like exactly what we do with add-ons and which kind that we support, if we do that at all. Or
I
whatever.
think no combat add-ons 100%. The rest, I don't really care that much
Greg,
about.
this next one's addressed to you from at Daco Tiak.
I don't know who this
says,
is.
more and more systems-heavy games seem to be dominated by the soulless quest of optimization at the expense of social decency.
There it is.
Greg mentioned social play is what makes MMO special. What's your strategy to keep optimization from destroying the social fabric of the game?
Good question. Great
So
question.
peeling back the curtain a little bit here, the historical business model for a lot of MMOs was to keep players playing as much as possible, because that's where the revenue comes
I could have never guessed
and
that.
we don't think that has aged super well. Like, when Baldur's Gate 3 came out, I wanted to just play a lot of Baldur's Gate 3, and if I had been raiding or something at the time,
Elden
that
Ring was
might have
like
been
that
an
for
issue
me.
for my guild. If you're a hardcore raider, like my friend Ed here, that may be fine. You may want to raid all the time, and we know that the optimization game is fun for some players. They want to try to, like, first you beat the boss, then you try to beat your friend's DPS. Like, we get it, and that's fine. But we really are trying to design Ghost to fit in your life, and because we're releasing the story in chapters, if you feel like you've kind of seen the end and you want to take a break for a little while, like, that's fine. We're not going to get mad at that, and we're going to try to make sure all the systems in the game can support that. So if you want to push blue shards, if you want to keep trying to do harder and harder raids or engage in PvP, like, all
it's like
good,
the
and we'll
Final
support
Fantasy
that. But if you
approach.
want to make room for other games or, God forbid, work or your family, you could do that as well. God forbid.
I wasn't avoiding therapy, but I just didn't think it was for me. But that idea completely changed for me when I decided to give BetterHelp a try.
Let's be real. We're often taught to carry all this weight on our shoulders to figure it out on your own. But when you hold everything inside, it just slowly starts to break you down.
You may be wondering, how does therapy help in this situation? And why would I want to talk and think about this more than I already do?
I always say, like, you do not realize the power of just talking to somebody. Just getting what is in your head out. Bruh, it can make the hugest difference.
I've been in therapy consistently with BetterHelp, specifically for the past over a year. I physically, mentally, emotionally.
Great. Okay, next question over to Brian. With respect to combat, the website describes targeting in such a way that it's not clear if it means tab targeting or fixed combat. Will it be real-time combat like we see in New World, Black Desert Online, and so forth, or will it be a hybrid like Guild Wars 2?
I'm hoping hybrid.
I think the short answer is more of a hybrid.
Thank God.
The long answer is that, first and foremost, our game is to be playable on the PC with a mouse and keyboard, right? We feel like there are millions of MMO players out there. They're very comfortable in that environment, and being able to click on individual targets, being able to hit tab to select them, that's something they're used to. And it's a very approachable model, right? There's a lot of people that you've been probably able to introduce to MMOs in the past, and they're very quickly able to get into the game, right? And we want that. We want, one of the most important things about playing this game is playing with your friends. And so part of that is making sure that it's approachable for everyone. What we also want to do, though, is we want to make sure that it can be played with a controller. And so that has certain challenges, right? And certain things we might have to do differently. And so we're exploring other ways that you would do targeting, more of like what we call like a soft lock targeting system, where you're maybe on a controller and the right stick moves the camera, and it's basically doing tab targeting for you. It's selecting a target based on where your crosshair is looking.
Crossplay's huge.
And then trying to add a lot of mechanics
want people to play the game, you know?
Popular action combat games that you might see, like Shadows of Mordor or even Spider-Man or Assassin's Creed. There's a lot of things they do with combos and assassinations and counters that we think we can bring into MMO combat and make it a bit more interactive and physical and interesting. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of targeting and combat at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, you brought up controller, right? And I think, like, we've been exploring just on the team already, like, how can more fine-grained targeting work with a controller, right? That's something that we would need to have, even if we otherwise had tab targeting. So there's stuff like that I think we're already digging into, which is exciting. And I don't know, maybe we'll share it with players online or something at some point and get feedback and talk about it, because I think that'd be really fun to do.
That's why big games get popular, like Minecraft.
One of the greatest challenges we've talked about is healing, right? So how are you going to heal on a controller? And so, you've been doing some really cool prototyping on that. And I think it's pretty cool. I think players will be excited about what we have, and we'll be happy to share that when we feel it's a little more refined and shippable on the App Store.
Or they'll hate it.
Yeah, or they'll hate it. One of the two.
We'll change it.
Also okay. And we'll change it. Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving here. So over to you, Koob. A question from a non-opinion 87. What is the art direction of the game? More stylized like WoW or more realistic?
Yeah.
Will it be built in a way that it won't become outdated graphically with options for visual upgrades in the future? Will it be third person or isometric or something else?
Wow. That is a lot of questions.
Wow. It's this. This is the art style.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the art style one. This is it, right?
Yeah. No.
No, I think, I think when we were going through the slideshow earlier, there was a wide range of things that we were showing. And that goes also back to some of the things that we were saying in the beginning. We are early in development. In that early development, we're exploring the boundaries of where we want to go with the look of the game. With the tone of what we're trying to do with the narrative and the IP, we know we're not going to be too stylized or cartoony, but we also know, to your point of things that end up being dated, this is a game that we want players to love and play, not just for years to come, but for decades to come. So it also won't be a game that is ultra realistic. In this kind of like process, we'll kind of be working to refine where that actual direction is. Sure. And I think the third part of your question about the camera, I think we can lock it in that it is going to be a third-person camera, not isometric.
Thank fucking
God.
MMO. I hate isometric.
Unless you hate it, then we'll change.
Yeah, I don't like isometric.
You all gotta hate it, though.
Well, as long as one person likes
not
it,
you. Sorry, guys.
Chat seems happy so far with that response. So
good. All
right,
we can keep our job.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Chad.
So this next question, actually, I'll cheat and ask 2 in 1. The first is, knowing oceanic servers would be a pipe dream, in what ways will you design the game to reduce the impact of higher ping on being able to effectively play? And then a related second question, will this game have cross-server grouping for players? Can NA play with EU homies? Cam, that feels as our resident Australian expert.
He's a Mythic Plus
that
legend.
feels like a good set of questions for you.
Yeah, for start, I love this question because I'm an Australian, and growing up in Australia and wanting to play MMOs when they first came out, it was really hard.
I don't know if he's Australian.
So
he hasn't used profanity yet.
Play MMOs for a really long time, and so I can really empathize, and it's really important to me that we actually solve this. I think the combat that Brian described actually can make the game quite latency friendly, and so we can have players playing with each other from all over the world. I don't think it's the right answer to just say, we'll have oceanic servers. I think the right answer is really latency friendly. You can be part of the worldwide community. And so that also goes to the second part of this question, which was about how easy is it going to be to group with friends. It needs to be easy. Like one of the core tenets of our game is that you can play with your friends. And so if you then had to do like some kind of weird transfer or play on a different server or not have your characters, that would be a pretty terrible experience. And so we're pretty committed to that. The exact server model, we don't know yet, but it'll be very friendly to playing with your friends, playing with people in other countries, and for like, latency tolerant connection.
I hope chat likes that answer too.
Yeah.
Maybe allow people to join cross-server for like blue shards but not red shards or something.
All right, let's switch it up a bit and start taking some of the questions live from chat too. 100 Fists asks, how do you avoid falling into the procedural generation traps that so many other games fall into?
True.
Yeah, Greg, how?
True. Want me to take this one? Procedure generation like AI or just like soulless
both
random games? Probably can't answer fast enough to make this work, but
I don't know. Yeah.
I'll answer it both ways. We're relying a lot on variability and random generation for our blue shards, but we take a lot more inspiration from, I mean, several has worked on Age of Empires, which has random maps, or Civilization.
Yeah.
Those are not procedurally generated in the sense
Age
that
of Empires.
Age of Empires too.
it's just a bunch of empty
He was
fields,
there.
and maybe the field is green, or maybe it's brown, or maybe there's a bush. Like, we want to make sure these maps are fun to explore, and that you see cool things on them, and that adventuring is fun. Sometimes procedural generation creates like a soulless experience where you have a great quantity of places to explore, but none of them are that interesting. That's the exact opposite of what we're going for. We want the experience of starting a new blue shard to be really exciting, because you don't know what you're going to find, and it could be very different from anything you've seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and also to add to that, I mean, you'll find things like side missions, you'll find things like recurring characters. We have a lot of tricks up our sleeve to make it feel like it's still one contiguous world. The other thing that we're exploring that could make it feel really cool is like giving the player a modicum of control over their blue shards. So it's not just
Like
randomly
map mods and
procedurally
PoE.
generated, this is what you get. What if you could do things like adjust the difficulty? What if you could do things like adjust the season?
How
Or
can you change
even
that and then let
bigger
people take
things like
resources
that?
out
Like,
of it?
what if you could turn on rules that let you turn on PvP permanently and kill other players and loot their bodies? Like, we want to give you so much control over
I
this
worry
thing
about
that it
this.
feels like you're breaking the game. Now, does that mean that you can just crank the difficulty to easy and like get all of your gear? Probably
Yeah.
not. We're going to control the things that you need to get, the scarcity of resources, stuff like that. That's on the red shards. But when it comes to blue shards, we really want to let you play your way, and we want to get pretty freaking radical about it. And so,
Pretty freaking.
I don't have anything to show right now, but hopefully we get to do some more deep dives on what blue shards actually are, because I feel like we've really only scratched the surface on what we want to do with these blue shards. And so, like, yes, long story short, we hope that they don't feel soulless because you have your own spin that you can put on them, but also because the stuff that you do in your blue shards is not going to be soulless. You're going to be creating a community with your friends. You're going to be, narratively, you're going to be uniting this shard with like the rest of the world. You're like saving fragments of a dying world. And there's a lot that I could talk about that we probably can't get into in the AMA. I'm very sorry, but we're very passionate about it. We have a lot of ideas, and we hope that you'll like them. And also, we're hoping that we'll get your feedback along the way.
Put the game out. Let us ruin your game, and then you'll know what's wrong with it.
We won't.
The sooner that people play this, the better.
All right, so we heard it here first. It will not feel soulless. That's great to hear. So let's. We're just going to start rotating back and forth from live and the ones that came in from social. So a question that was submitted earlier from Woover was, really excited to see some of the crew back together again. I'm having concerns about the game being backed by NetEase. I understand the game needs to make money, obviously, but NetEase makes me think of the MTX and Diablo Immortal. Will this be similar?
Jason, got a new podcast partner.
Yes! Who?
The Farmer's Dog. I'm super hyped about it because my dog Lola loves it. Before driving up here, that's the last thing I did was give her that food, and she was so hyped she didn't notice that we left.
Well, I've become a chef at my house. I have 5 dogs, and I prepare meals for these celebrities every day.
That's good, because the company was founded by 2 dog lovers who decided to reimagine pet food from the ground up. The results of switching your dog's food from kibble to fresh can seem like magic. When a senior dog starts acting like a puppy again, and the pickiest of eaters can't wait for dinner time, you might think some spells were cast. But the Farmer's Dog doesn't use any sorcery or secret ingredients to make their fresh food, just science.
The Farmer's Dog makes and delivers fresh, healthy dog food. It's developed by vets, nutritionally balanced, and made from real healthy ingredients to human food safety standards.
Traditional dry and wet food dog options are highly processed. They can...
No.
Oh,
I mean,
shit.
In short, we have not finalized our business model yet, but honestly, it's probably going to be something like you pay for a box or you pay for a subscription. Like, we almost certainly, this is not going to be like a free-to-play game with microtransactions. We might have microtransactions, but it certainly won't be pay to power. We decided to work with NetEase because they made this crazy offer of they want to fund us and let us kind of make whatever game we want with whatever team we want, and then they'll be there to support us along the way.
It's
so
smart for
it
NetEase
is
too.
the most freedom I've ever had as a game developer. I've been doing this for
Think
for
about
25
it from their
years.
perspective. It's good for them.
It's it's awesome. And I think that is what has allowed us to attract so many great people to work on the game. But again, love to hear feedback. Even once we start talking about the business model, that's the kind of stuff that we'd like to have. We want players to feel good about spending money.
Yeah, sure. It's never going to happen, but yeah, sure.
Great. Next question then from Ciro in chat. You've mentioned a lot
Unless
of
they're
classes.
adding anime
Well, it's
girls.
obviously too early for an exact number. Is there a ballpark for how many you plan to launch with? Maybe over to Brian for that?
Servers?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked from anywhere from 20 to 50. I think one of the things to focus on with the number of classes is that playing the game, we expect you to play a bunch of different classes. And so there may not be as much depth in terms of customization and taking a single class into 3 to 4 different directions. But it's more going to be that, this class, it's very easy for my rat catcher to not look like Greg's rat catcher.
There it is.
And for us to have some choices in how we catch our rats.
Yeah, it is.
But not necessarily that the rat catcher can do 4 different roles and there's talent choices for all of them. So I think in that respect, we're going to see, but then, we could really go deep on the rat catcher fantasy because we only have to say this is what rat catchers do, right?
Okay.
And so I think that's part of what we're talking about here. So yeah, something in the 20 to 50 space is what we've been throwing around.
So they're almost going to be like champions in like a MOBA.
By the way, it's like a joke on our team, but
Is
don't
it
be
a joke?
surprised. Don't be surprised if you see it.
Yes.
It is too
We
late
say
now.
we won a lot of classes.
No, it's out there. It's out
Brian,
there.
there are-
The one thing is with having lots of classes. Sure, I mean, it's not going to be like rat catchers our only class, but part of it is yes, we're going to have, as Greg alluded to in the opening, we're going to have those traditional things that you want to be. There's some guy who wants to be bare-chested with a big sword, running around smacking things, and wants somebody to be.
Bajira?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Bajira will. Maybe if he's out there now, and sure, there'll be somebody in a long robe. Who wants to cast spells, and we'll have roles or classes for those type of people who want that fantasy, but we also want to do weird stuff. So, yeah.
And I actually might be worth mentioning the bit of the controversial
jester
point that
class, like
we
in
don't want
Gauntlet
all
Dark
classes
Legacy.
to be able to do everything in the game.
Right.
The game will end up
that'd be
feeling
cool.
homogenized if we have 50 classes that all do the same stuff. And so we're looking into putting time and energy and effort into classifying people as like certain kinds of DPS roles. Are you a 2-target sustained? Are you like a multi-daughter? And really making those classes feel really special. And if we have that in mind from the beginning, we can do things like make sure that our raids and our dungeons and our world has a good enough spread of those kind of DPS profile necessities that it's not just that, oh, these mages are the best because they can also do like instant burst and they can AoE.
Yeah.
There's going to be like a good mix of encounters that are going to call for those different DPS profiles, so you can always feel good. And honestly, even if you don't feel good, it should be really freaking easy to play an alt. And so maybe
Just go with
it's
the
not
job
unheard
system.
of that you can just swap to your alt in the middle of a raid. I mean, we really want to reinvent
Just do it like
what
Final Fantasy.
alts feel like.
I think many of us have
Just do it
suffered
like
in
Final
games where
Fantasy,
we want to
please.
play alts, but there just isn't the systems and the support to make it feel like it's a good use of your time. And so from day one, we talked about how can we make alts feel good in our game and make it feel like an organic, natural thing you can opt into to try a lot of different classes.
Yep.
If you want Ratcatcher, get in the comments.
Yes, yeah. Upvote the rat catcher.
You definitely won't be an elf rat catcher.
Uh-oh. Is that the
Spoilers.
next question?
That's actually a great question. Transition, Candace. And the good news, you all can't see this, but we have people theory crafting their rat catchers now. Someone named theirs Charlie.
I love it.
Yep.
So
Hey, we have a name.
it's going to happen now.
Yeah, I'm sure the Discord is up already.
So, Shanti, I think Candace's comment is a good question. We have not launched our game. We've not shown gameplay yet, but at Nary 5th is perhaps the first player that we've already lost. They write, no elves. You can't do this to me. Do you have a response?
Yeah, that's kind of weird how I said no
So,
elves.
We want to develop this game with players from day one. It's why we're all sitting here, cracking jokes and trying our best not to spoil anything.
Yeah, sure.
Over the coming years, we will say things that aren't clear. We'll try features that end up not working out.
There's going to be
And
a
that's just
race
kind of
that looks like
part of the
elves.
journey that we want to take you upon. So in the spirit of that, let me clarify the elves comment, because this is one of the first things we heard was players who were like, but I love elves. We do too, actually. I can't remember the last game I played a human in, if there's any other option to play other races. What we don't want to do is transpose Tolkien's Lord of the Rings elves and dwarves and plop them into our universe, because we're making something from the ground up that is ownable and made to be in the shape the game needs it to be. So we're going to have some great races. They're going to call back to a lot of the fantasies and the reasons people like elves, like dwarves, but they're going to have our spin on it and be ownable for our IP in a way that we think you're really, really going to like.
Yeah, and if I could add something to that, Shanti, I think early development, it isn't always just being general about telling people things that have no context. I mean, we could say early development and not say anything. But to your point, sometimes we are just saying what we're thinking right now and want to get that feedback, kind of understand what is it about elves that you like? What is it about that persona? What is it about that speaks to players so that we can better understand
in general,
that and actually
I think
figure
just
out how
use
to
the old
work
races.
things into our game.
That's what I think.
want to double down on that because
Because there's like a cultural shared understanding of it.
Understand the fantasies that these classes and these races are providing, so that we can learn what you love and then make sure that that's present in the game.
Yeah.
That if you have a fantasy of, you know, I want to be like a class that loves nature and I use nature magic, we have that. If you just want the fantasy of an elegant, you know, beautiful elf, there will be elegant, beautiful races, right? So I think it's really important that you keep telling us how you feel about our ideas.
So what I heard was we're not building elves. We're building like 15 different kinds of elves. Perfect.
They're all rat
they
catchers.
need to have
And they're all rat, and they have great abs.
They've got to have it.
All right, back over to you, Cam. Probably a quick question here, but a bunch of people have had it, including Vivid Gaming GG. Is our game built in Unreal or Unity or something else?
Good question. Great question.
Yeah, so I think you can get pretty good results from building a custom engine. But if I said to Greg, hey, just give me 5 years and I'll get a triangle on the screen, that probably isn't going to fly. And so we're going to start with Unreal. Unreal is a great engine. It is not an MMO engine in a box, and so we have a lot of work to do, and we're happy to take on that work and to make a great MMO. But we wanted to start with a great engine. Unreal is a great place to start, and so that's what we're doing.
That's smart, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. All right, let's keep moving. Maybe actually while we got you, Cam, another question here from Choco Chat. Will the game be built around people who can work against bots? This is always an issue on economy and player experience.
True.
Yeah, that's actually a great follow-up question, because that's one of the things that we will need to put a lot of effort into. That's really important. It's important to me. It's actually something that some of us in the team have worked on before, and so things like if you call that client integrity, things like avoiding exploits, avoiding botting, avoiding dupes, things like that will put a lot of effort
So he
into
played
that.
New World.
I'm confident we can get that to a really good spot. Then the other side of that is actually content integrity. You don't want, like, I actually hope our game gets big enough that there will be data miners trying to like sneak into the files and work out what it all means. But like, we don't want that to spoil the game for people, and so we'll make sure that content is also protected. If we've got a big story moment, or even if we want to just hide for gameplay reasons,
That's
like
great.
what is this upcoming boss mechanic, then we want to make sure that we put enough like content integrity tooling in place that can't get spoiled and that can't get data mined. So that stuff's hard, but I'm confident we'll be able to do a good job of it.
Yeah.
If you sleep on your side, I bet you hate your pillow, and this is why. They might be as fluffy as a cloud, but they just don't support your head. So you double up on pillows. You fold them in half, you sleep on your arm, or you just resign yourself to a miserable sleep. How about trying a pillow that actually supports your head? The Pillow Cube is specifically designed for side sleepers. Don't believe me? Let's take a closer look. Meet Barry.
Hello.
Unlike other pillows, the Pillow Cube fills your shoulder gap and aligns your spine.
Whoa, now I can rest in peace.
Side sleepers have a simple problem. When they sleep on their side, they need a pillow that fills their hole.
Excuse me?
Your pillow hole. It's a square.
Oh, that hole.
The Pillow Cube is the only pillow that fills the side sleeper gap. It perfectly aligns your spine and head because it's the shape of your pillow hole.
I love this pillow.
And the reviews from living human beings with skin are even better. Instant relief.
So instant.
I'm not sore in the morning.
Sore.
Best sleep of my life.
The sleep of the dead.
A pillow cube is a soft and supportive block wrapped in a custom quilted cover. That's like if your steak burrito came wrapped in bacon. That's actually a really good idea. Other luxury pillow companies that cost twice as much as the pillow cube bump up their prices because they have some weird shapes that they say are ergonomic. This sucks. Or they just say screw it, and they fill a sack filled with soft stuff, such as feathers or chopped up remnants of their mattresses, like some saggy garbage burrito. The pillow cube isn't just a block of everyday foam. The pillow cube is of such high quality that if you were to make an entire mattress out of this thing, it would cost over $4,000. The best part about the pillow cube is it holds up to wear and tear.
I think
Cam,
data
you're doing a
mining
great
is
job
generally
answering
a bad
questions. I'll
thing.
just give you another one. This one's from at Scripe Wow from Social.
Oh, we
who
know who
asks,
this is.
do you plan on releasing the game in patches worldwide at the same time?
So short answer, yes. I think we want a worldwide community, and it's just better if everyone gets the same content at the same time. And so that is our aspiration. That's what
Doesn't
we're
want to
gonna do.
lose because
sometimes there
CU.
are practical reasons why that's difficult. Different platforms, different countries, but wherever possible, we'll make sure the game and the patches are released at the same time worldwide. And same deal. You don't want to get spoiled because someone in some other country found out about the content and then you didn't even get a chance to see it and you already heard about it.
Or maybe they killed the boss before you did.
Possible, it'll be
Yeah,
worldwide.
for sure.
Except Australia, maybe we'll give it to them first.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Australia first and then rest of the world.
All right, Brian making the wisecracks over there, so you get the next question. This question comes from Janai, who asks, when it comes to characters and ults, will you have to level multiple different tunes like WoW and Guild Wars 2, or will it be more like Final Fantasy 14, where I can have one character that can learn all jobs by changing?
Amazing question.
Yeah, it's a good question. We touched on this a little bit before. I think we believe, you know, RPG, it's a lot about creating a character, and your class has a lot to do with the identity of that character. And so we do want character and the classes to be tied together. So if you create a character, it's going to be that class, and that defines it. And you can, you customize it, you make it look that way. But we also want to have this ability to progress your alts or play a lot of alts. And so your progression will probably be more about you, the player, than necessarily your individual character. So there's a balance there. It's a tricky problem to say, how much do you make time investment worthwhile so it feels like you made this character more powerful, but at the same time is not a hindrance to you making multiple characters. So those are things we're always discussing. We're going to find pain points. We're going to hear from you on what you think makes an alt worthwhile. But yeah, our plan right now is to make the characters and classes tied together, but also make it pretty easy for you to switch classes.
A roster system I would be very happy with.
What we really like about the Final Fantasy model is like how easy it is to swap back and forth in classes, and
So
how much sense it makes. Like, oh, I have this different weapon now, and now I'm this different class. There are things that we could do that are inspired in that vein, but ultimately the thing that we like the most and the reason we chose this direction was like, we like embodying the entire fantasy of the character within a single character, in the sense that, like, if I want to play a Scourge character, and then I want that to feel like it's in the vein of, you know, Scourge stuff, or I want to play my Tauren character or something, and that's going to feel very different. We want to give you like the full breadth of that fantasy, and I think the best way to do that, to deliver on that, is to let you play a lot of different races, to let play a lot of different like fantasies to explore.
Yeah, sure, I get it.
I remember Santi and I had some conversation about this at one point. And
I would agree with that.
We were
That
just
sounds
joking
good.
around, but it was like things like, how do your characters interact with each other? Like, maybe you have a base and like you can go in and your rat catcher's doing the dishes or something.
Yeah.
And you can like, it's like grab stuff out of their inventory or like do whatever. Like there may be creative things that we can do and explore that just make it feel overall always better to have more characters than worse, or like you're juggling things and did I do my dailies on this and whatever. So
And it was actually kind of hard to say that because we're a little bit afraid of promising things that we can't deliver on, right? Like, what if we can't make 15 different races at launch, or what if we can't even make 4 different races at launch?
Sure.
It's what we want to do, but the reality of like the development and trying to get to ship on time and what sacrifices you make to have those kind of things put in the game. Anyways, I just wanted to acknowledge it's like very hard for us to say these things when we're not 100% sure. And there might be a world where we only have 1 or 2 or 3 races at ship. But letting you know what's in our head and where our philosophy is at, I think is what's important
It's
about
good to know what the North Star is, yeah,
staying transparent about our development process and developing out in the open. So
yeah,
we have more ideas than that.
In fact,
you came up with more today, or
yeah, Ratcatcher might just be our anti-cheat system. Is what Cam said.
It's
so it'll be somewhere in the game, even if you can't play it as a class.
Brian, you took like a mix of W's and L's in chat for the alts versus not alts type thing.
Oh yeah, well I'm not surprised.
Probably the WoW players versus the Final Fantasy.
I love alts. I don't like alts. I like playing one character, and that's the thing.
I don't
we
like
understand.
having
There are
to
people who
repeat content.
like making one character and playing that character only. And so one of the things you have to make sure you're not letting happen is, well, to play this one character, I have to play lots of alts.
Yeah, that's not
I
fun.
play lots of alts and drive it towards that one character. It's okay to say, I play this one character and it can feed my other characters. Like, that's a little bit more palatable than saying, in order to make my Ratcatcher more powerful, I've got to play my Gunsmoke Ronin and my, you know, my Swan Catcher or Swan Watcher. I don't know.
That's a new one.
There's a swan right there. I'm looking at a swan. There's the camera here and a swan right there. I want you all to know what is my experience right now.
So where's the rat?
Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing on that topic, which is like we are staying curious. So if there is something about having one character that is very appealing to you, very curious about what that is. We have some inclinations, like how easy it is to like share gear, and like is it more of like, is it a fantasy thing that you want, or is it more of a logistics thing? Because logistics are very easy to solve, especially whenever you're building something from scratch. So
like in Diablo,
anyway,
you know.
that was a baller question. Thank you, John.
Great question.
Also, one last clarification. It's actually an Australian swan. So going back to the Australian thing, we're very pro Australian.
All right, Brian, while we're with you, that is spamming this one, so we're just going to do it.
Okay.
Specifically for Holinka, can we get an idea about what PvP will be like? Will there be incentives pushing players to be a part of open world PvP? Will there be a ranking system, BG arenas?
Very good question.
I think a lot to be decided there about the structure of PvP. There will be PvP. I think more of a focus on open world PvP, maybe blue shard PvP, you know, so that every time you're going in, it's a little bit different. Maybe there's blue shard battlegrounds, maybe there's blue shard arenas. I think that's a kind of an open question. I think one of the big challenges in MMOs, every MMO has this. Honestly, any game that has a PvE progression system and PvP in it has this challenge of, are those two parallel progression systems or not? And I think that's something we're really going to have to think about, in my opinion, avoid, right? Like, that was always a constant battle in other games that I've seen of, well, you know, is the PvP always better in the PvP situation? Is the PvE always better in the
Just
PvP
make
situation?
PvE the best.
So I don't know. I think
like
we want to
classic
explore different
WoW.
ideas there and probably not do it
try to
the way
balance it.
everyone else has done it in the past. We have a fresh start, and we can
Never
make those
balance.
decisions. So I don't think we'll see very structured PvP things like ranked PvP right out the launch. I think our focus will be more about creating a big world and a world that you can go fight in. And sure, there will be some systemic things that encourage you to go out and have some very dynamic fights, but more of a focus on
the real
open
MMO
world stuff before we get into a lot of the structured things.
Not this
And
bullshit.
Brian talked about blue shard PvP. I just want to kind of like illustrate what that could mean. So the cool thing about blue shards is that they're like randomized, right? They're like different just for you. They're not the same experience every time. It's not like it's not like an arena where you know exactly where all the pillars are. You know exactly where you want to do all your opening. It could be really fun to play a map like Warsong Gulch, but you don't know where the capture points are, and you have to figure that out each time. And maybe sometimes there's some texture between, oh, this one was really easy and this one kind of sucked. But it could also be fun to have those like private PvP experiences where you could turn on specific rules that make things more interesting for you. Like, what if we wanted to play, if we had blue shard PvP, for example, we say, okay, we want this to be kind of like a capture the flag style map, and we turn on that like hailstorm rule that we were talking about earlier, where like now I have to worry about getting to the flag, but I also have to worry about like building shelter and knowing where shelter is nearby. Blue shard PvP could be really, really fun, and we hope that we can deliver on.
Like the fog maps in PUBG, man. I remember that. That shit was good.
Next one's over to Ed. Question, I am interested in hearing more about accessibility options. The key one for me is how targeting works. Due to how I play because of my disability, I struggle with more action-based MMOs compared to easier tab targeting ones. I know we've talked a little bit about the targeting already, but maybe touching on our approach to accessibility.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, for me, accessibility is actually something I care a lot about, even though I don't have any disabilities or anything. And I think the thing that originally sold me on how valuable and important it can be is to think of it from the perspective of two things. One, accessibility in the sense of who can play your game, right? There are just, I mean, there are a ton of gamers who have various disabilities who basically can't play some of the games that they love because they just don't have the ability to control them properly or whatever. I think looking at accessibility through that lens, if we can solve, important disabilities, we can actually bring more gamers into our community that we otherwise wouldn't be able to get, which is awesome. And I think the other angle that was really compelling to me when I was first learning about accessibility was the idea that actually non-disabled players also benefit from accessibility options, right?
Yeah.
Options around difficulty, for example, options around inputs, even down to whether you can use a controller in our game could be considered in some ways an accessibility feature, right? Because some people don't have the dexterity with mouse and keyboard that they do maybe with controller.
It's also why we're excited to have someone like Ed on now to start thinking about this at a very foundational stage and really kind of build in with that thinking as we get into Engine for the first time and put the first things in our world.
I recorded that, so I'm gonna play it back. Right. Whenever I get fired,
it's my new ringtone. Yeah.
It's good news for you, Ed. We're gonna have a VOD of the whole thing. You can go back, clip out the parts that you want, put it in your annual review. Next question over to you, Greg. This one comes from Lisa Sween, who says, I remember Greg remarking on the OG Plus podcast that WoW wants to be the only game you play due to the time commitment required. Time commitment is always an issue in MMOs. How will Ghost approach this challenge? We've also gotten a few questions in chat just sort of asking about what a typical play session looks like. Are we thinking dailies and weeklies or other types of
I'm a food scientist. I'm going to show you why lab-grown mushrooms are the best. If you picture where the highest quality edible mushrooms are grown, would you picture a wee fairy forest? Understandably, but they're actually grown in a lab, and there's very good reasons why. Safety. Wild mushrooms are bioaccumulators. That means they can absorb and concentrate harmful contaminants in their environment. In a lab, we can make sure our mushrooms and mycelium are free of all that noise. Quality. Being able to control humidity, temperature, and light ensures consistent quality, taste, and efficacy, which maximizes nutritional benefits. Sustainability. Lab cultivation doesn't disturb natural habitats or deplete wild mushroom populations that can be so important to the environment in indigenous cultures. Mudwaters mushrooms are grown sustainably in the USA, lessening our footprint. We pair these amazing mushrooms and mycelium with cacao, chai, and spices to give you energy and focus without the jitters and crash. It tastes great and has people all over the country feeling better throughout their day, but don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself today and get $20 off.
I'm hesitating to answer this because I don't want to throw, other games under the bus, but generally dailies and weeklies are kind of low quality content that are easy for developers to add. So when you need to make sure your players have plenty of things to do, you add more dailies and weeklies because it's, you can play the same quest over and over and over again till you're really, really tired of it.
Super fun.
That's not the framework we want to approach.
What? No!
Because we're telling the story in these chapter-based sessions, we're fine if someone finishes a chapter and pieces out until the next chapter comes along. That's great. Again, if you want to stay and play the game, we will have plenty of alternate activities to do. We think that re-rolling and pushing blue shards is hopefully going to be really fun and have a lot of activity, and you will get rewards from it, but it should feel optional. It shouldn't feel like every day I log in and I do my 4 blue shards, and I go do my daily quest, and I do my long ass enchantment cooldown or whatever. The tricky part of answering a question like that is you don't want to send the message to the Eds of the world that oh, so you're saying your game's not going to have much to do. Yes, there will be a lot to do, but we really want it to be tailored around, as a player, how much do you want to play? You're not going to be able to be the best player in your guild with the best gear. You're like, hey, I like Ghost, but I only want to play a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
But you could still progress and you can still see the content and finish the story if you play a couple hours a week.
Ed's a grinder. Ed's an
I
idiot.
wanted to highlight
Yeah.
one of the points that actually me and Christina were talking about. Christina actually blew
What'd
my
you
mind
say?
the other day because we were talking about gameplay loops, core loops, why people come back to the game, and one of the things that we were tackling was like the weekly reset model in MMOs and why they exist, and staying curious about like all their better alternatives. And so if we wanted this game to fit in your life, one of the things we could do is say, yeah, there's no raid lockout on raids. And like at first I was clutching my pearls because I was like, well, why will my guild log in every week? What will we do? But I think there's better reason. Like if you wanted to quit our game happy and full of gear because you've seen everything and then come back whenever we give you something else to give you, that's way more preferable than like you're leaving money on the table, you're leaving loot on the table if you don't clear this raid every week, if you don't finish all of your dailies. Like, this is what we mean by fitting into your life. If you want to finish the game and move on, that's okay too.
I think they should
We're
do
hoping
what's
that we
like
give you a lot of
equivalent to a
stuff so
rested
you
bonus.
don't like finish very quickly, or at least like you have optional things to opt into. But yeah, what's a world like where there aren't any cooldowns on raids, like loot blocks and stuff like that? Would you have to redesign the meta of the world first race? Why, yes. Are we already thinking about this? Why, yes.
Good question, Janice.
Sure.
And this is also like why we need your feedback. Like, what is it? If we were to do things like remove raid lockouts, why does that scare you? Why does that excite you? Love to hear more.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest
I think people
challenges
burn
that
themselves
we're
out
going to try and
without
figure
raid
out
lockouts.
is
I don't think it's a good
want
idea.
the game to fit
I think
into
they
your
just make it
lives.
to where like, you
we
get
know how
rested.
important that is. We know you have busy lives full of other things to do. But also, we need to respect how meaningful it is when you play the game for thousands of hours. And you want to be able to say, hey, playing this game for thousands of hours is very meaningfully different. My experience, my progression, you can see all the love and devotion I put into this game. So that's something I think we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about in the coming years, how to balance those two things, because they're both important to us.
I think it's just stopping players from burning themselves out.
Another question that came in beforehand, and also a few people have asked in the chat.
That's what's scary.
Probably around the studio's approach to AI. Redcon asked, how much do you intend to use advancements in AI? Will that help make worlds and NPCs feel more alive or more interactive? Maybe over to you.
I feel like this is a trap question.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get started on that.
This is a trap question, 100%.
As Greg already pointed out, we have such craft people that are already in our studio, and even with NetEase. And one of the things that we want to do with our game is mold this with the community through those craft people's hands. So it's really important that we're bringing the right team together that is able to craft this amazing world, this amazing content that we want to create. AI has been tools that people have been using for a long time in different things, from things like Substance Designer, making procedural textures and things like that. And those are tools that we feel more comfortable using. The tools that may potentially plagiarize somebody's work is not something that we would do, and we want to definitely keep that kind of published content in the hands of actual, artists and crafts people.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that as well, which is I think you did a great job covering kind of content creation workflows.
Thanks,
Yeah, you should keep doing a good job.
That's what I think. You mean art director.
Yeah, that's right. But I think there's a whole other class of AI that, and specifically around machine learning, which I think is something that we could also look into. Like, here's an example. We're talking about these kind of infinitely variant blue zones. Like, what if, based on machine learning on people's actual experience, it actually feeds back into the system that generates these blue zones? And so you would use machine learning on players' fun, effectively, to feed back into what is the next blue zone, what is the next blue zone. And so that's another example where I think we can fit it in without it being the kind of, I guess, more controversial or predatory AI like you described.
I think AI should be used, but it shouldn't be relied on.
Look, we're only going to hire 15 people and have AI do the rest of the work. Like, we hear a lot of crazy promises about the future, and honestly, I think nobody knows. But we are going to hire a lot of great engineers and a lot of great artists, and hand make a lot of our content.
Sweater weather is here, and I'm falling for these new Bombas Gripper slippers that look and feel like my favorite cozy sweater. The cushioned footbed and soft lining make you feel like you're walking on a cloud, and they've got stay-put grips on the bottom to prevent slipping. I just know I'll be cozying up all fall. Give them a try and get 20% off your first order with code COMFORT20.
Greg, while we've got you, a question that's come from a few folks, including Shanvitz Gaming, is partnering with players is a great value to have, but what is the actual strategy here? How do you intend to partner up, and what can we expect as players?
That's a great question. This is a brand new frontier. Like, many of our former employers never would have gone for something like this. So we don't have a lot of examples to follow. I think some of the indie games do a pretty good job here of saying, like, look, we want feedback early on, tell us what's working, what's not working. For the most part, our strategy is going to be oversharing. And we know that's not every player's cup of tea.
It's gonna
Some
cause
of you are
problems.
probably not the ones watching the stream,
cause
but
problems,
some players out there will say,
But it's good.
I want to wait until things are set in stone. I want to wait until I can play the game and see final art, and that's great. And we will make sure you know when we're at that stage. But we also think there are people who are excited to kind of come along this journey, see how the sausage is made, watch us pivot as like our ideas don't turn out as awesome as we think, and we have to do something else. We have a lot of experience on the team talking to players. There is a challenge where we're not building a game by consensus, right? We're not going to like go out and vote like, hey, what should the next class be? We'll ask for feedback.
That's very smart.
We will
I'm glad to hear this.
marry that feedback with our experience and our intuition.
Because
and
a lot of players
the
are
actual
stupid.
hard numbers that you get from watching players play test. Sometimes players say they're doing one thing and in reality they're doing something else.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's helpful to have that information.
I'm not going to buy this
And just like everything else, this is a great part, a great topic to give us feedback on. Like, are you sick of hearing about our studio values and you just want to hear more nitty gritty about like how much armor class does this class have? Do you want to hear more about blue shards? Do you want us to talk to you more? Like, this is not our last AMA. We are going to do some really cool things. I mean, I'll just say it now. We have a few interviews lined up with streamers you've probably heard of. We are going to do a podcast that we're partnering with our good friend Scott Johnson, where I don't know what the cadence will be, but every episode we'll talk a little bit about like what is it like doing a startup, what changes do we have to make, what are the challenges. It's really like making a documentary, like releasing the documentary as the documentary is being made. So yeah, another experiment. Maybe it will be terrible. We hope not, but yeah, definitely listen in and tell us what you think.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. You sure? Yeah. Yeah, so one of the other things I'd like to add to that is we're working on a project, we're working on a game, but in some of the early things that we're going to be sharing is going to be on the content, is going to be on, where are we going to be able to go with some of the classes? What are some of the potential visuals looking like? How are we getting some feedback from what the audience may like from that? As great as Unreal is a tool, we're still not necessarily ready to have playtesters just yet. So I think in that amount of time, we will be kind of involving the community in other ways and kind of like giving them glimpses of what is behind the scenes of creating, this class, or how are we differentiating these zones? And I think that those are the types of things that we're going to be wide open, for feedback. And I think as Greg pointed out, the feedback is definitely for us to consider, to talk about. We love kind of like just as groups even questioning and having people consider things from one another. But we're still only, a group of people. I think on our website we have like 14 people right now. So we'd love to get, more information from the rest of the audience.
I think another one of our strong values in the approach to partnering with players is that we understand not all players want to engage with us the same way. So we want to have lots of ways to get your feedback, get your input. So, you know, that could be, hey, we're talking to you right now, you're chatting with us, it's great. It could be, hey, we send out some surveys. It could be play tests. It definitely will be, but more on that later.
Yep. I don't know if Greg remembers, but when I first joined Riot before coming here, I reached out to him and I was like, can we get lunch? And like, I just want to like pick your brain. And I just remember like kind of fangirling over Greg because, not because, you know, he was a celebrity or anything. Yeah, he's just so smart. No, but because seeing Greg and other awesome developers across the industry engaging with players about how games are made, why we make decisions certain ways, like it helps not only excite people who are just interested in game development, which I was and became, but also helps people understand like how did we get to the decision that we made, and like even if it's a bad one, right? And like it lets people give feedback in a better context. So I think we're betting basically that there are a bunch of other players who, you know, are like little Ed, who might be interested in how the sausage is made and want to you know, have a window into game development, and I think that'll be exciting, hopefully.
I do also want to give a shout out to Actual Creation for developing that in the open, and I think that is a good place to start. That's like they're kind of pioneering the path when it comes to that, and the reason that they're doing it is because they're crowdfunded and they treat players as their stakeholders, right? Like, we're going to show you this update. They're going to be super out in the open. That's really cool. I think to add to that, we want to treat players not just like our stakeholders, but like our peers. We're all gamers. We're all MMO enthusiasts.
Yeah, I like how
I've
they
been
just
working
openly
on
talk
MMOs
about
for
other
15
games.
years, playing them for over 20.
It's
and
easier
so,
to understand.
Like, that's what partnering with players means. It means treating your feedback as valuable as one of our own peers, but also treating you with the respect that you deserve as a stakeholder, as the person who's going to purchase our game.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Great.
Next question, I'm going to cheat again and combine two questions here so we get more questions.
Okay.
Probably over to Greg. A question that was submitted was, being industry veterans, do you worry this may cloud the vision of the product with the we know better mentality?
This is a Blizzard gamer.
Development we've seen throughout the industry in recent years. And related to that, question that just came in chat from Paddles is, Greg mentioned a long time ago,
the developers should know what you want better than you do.
A fresher POV on
That's
game
their
development.
job.
Do you have any news about that?
Yeah, I mean, 100% this is a concern of ours. When you get industry veterans, you have a lot of experience and you know how to set up a game from scratch. It is easy to lose touch with what our players, particularly younger players, you know, talking about these days. How do they interact with content? What kind of games are they even looking for? So, as Christina alluded to before, part of this is just talking to players, talking to younger players, talking to players from different demographics than we represent, talking to players in different countries around the world to kind of find out what's working for them. You know, do the current games they play, are they delivering? Is there something absent, you know, a niche we can feel? We will do focus groups, we'll talk to a lot of players, and yes, we will hire people with little to no experience. I just think that will be an awesome way to get a fresh perspective, some crazy ideas. We are not at that place yet. We are a remote studio, so we cannot offer a ton of direct mentorship. Our tools are currently the kinds of tools that veteran developers are comfortable using. So give us a little bit of time to catch up with that.
Sure,
and
that makes sense.
you will absolutely, you will find job recs on our website. I just want to caution you that we will probably get a lot of interest in those roles. So we can't hire all of you. I would love to, but we do want to stay as a smaller studio.
Sure, that makes sense.
All right. Next question over to Shanti comes from.
You can't just give players what they want all the time.
Congrats on the team. Congrats to the team on the
People don't know what
unveiling
they
of the
want.
studio.
Thank
On
you.
IGN, it was mentioned you want to avoid typical fantasy tropes such as orcs and elves. Do you have any other examples of tropes you want to avoid?
Dwarves, gnomes,
gnomes,
halflings, dragonborn.
Love this question. A lot of games lean on tropes because tropes are there for a reason, right? A hero overcoming some obstacles with their friends and being triumphant has been in stories for as long as humans have told stories.
It's a heroic journey, yes.
So we're not going to try to reinvent storytelling in game and avoid all tropes.
Thank you.
That being said, one thing we are very excited about is the possibility of playing more in kind of the gray space between the good and the bad. We love it when you can understand why a villain may be doing something, even if you don't agree with it, or watching a hero that 2 seasons ago was your favorite, maybe starting to make some choices that you're not so excited about anymore. We want to be respectful of the passion and the love that players have for characters in the world, but we think there's a lot of really interesting area there in the gray that we can deliver awesome stories and incredible characters for you.
Yeah, and if I were to add to that, that's what I love so much about being able to have art partnership with IP and narrative, because it really helps drive what we could do visually, with that. Already when, Art has been sharing with the team on our kind of weekly cadence of, oh, what about this? Or, Shanti will start, throwing in some designs, and then Greg's like, oh, well, he gave me the go-ahead, so here's 20 more. And I love what we were able to kind of come up with and explore. And yeah, like it's just great having that from the very beginning of the project, because it's only going to make what we're creating, both visually and for people to play, just more kind of a stronger foundation to grow on over years to come.
Sure, I can see that. I don't think they should be afraid of tropes though, like dwarves and elves.
We've gotten a couple questions about our approach to solo play versus group content. One of them is from Jagadorium, who says, what's your take on solo players? There are people who like existing in a shared world but have trouble finding time to filter a group of competent people to play with. Is the game built with loners in mind? Maybe over to you, Candace.
I think you need to have loners.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I touched on earlier about blue shards and being able to pick your difficulty, it's definitely more solo friendly.
Yeah.
Will I say that you'll be able to do everything in the game and kill every monster by yourself? Probably not. But blue shards are a great answer to that problem, where you can roll a new blue shard, do as much stuff as you can, kill the bosses that you can kill, but then when it starts getting too rowdy, just dump it down the toilet, start the next one. Don't dump it down. Give it to the city, or blow it up, or do whatever. So I think blue shards give us a lot of access there, but also, like I had mentioned before, the red zones that we're going to do should be concentrated in just the things that only a big, like, contiguous open world can provide in an MMO. So things, Greg had mentioned, it's kind of like Timeless Isle if you ever played World of Warcraft, but the idea there is, like, there's always something to do, there's something you can jump in on, and you're always welcome whenever you do it. So things like world bosses that are rotating left and right. There's things like treasures to find. And so, yeah, I think that touching on both blue shards and red shards. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention was that we also want to explore leaderboard content, stuff like whenever you play Diablo and you say, like, well, if I think I'm the best paladin, can I do some greater rifts and find out if I really am the best paladin? And so hopefully there's a lot for you there too if you're a solo player, but definitely the game has solo in mind. Hopefully you're playing a lot of alts though, because that would be really cool.
There's something that comes to mind when I hear that question too, which is like, there are definitely players who want to play solo, which is great, right? Like, I think we've all probably been in that space where, like, I just want to, like, log in and, like, do a thing by myself. Which is, I think it's awesome. Yeah, it's how you feel now, yeah. But there are also players who would love to find a friend group to play with, and they don't have the right tools to do it, right? Like, they don't want to be match made into a guild of, like, people they don't know, or like they just don't want to kind of go down that path. And you know, some players like me have been, like, super lucky to raid with a bunch of clueless gamers, shout out Derez, you know, for the past 3 years or whatever in WoW Classic, but it's hard to find that group that you're really going to click with. And so, like, one thing we should be thinking about a lot is how do we build tools to help connect people so that they can find that group that they do want to play with them when they want to play with people, and then let them play by themselves when they don't want to, you know?
That's a great segue. Part of that actually is another superpower of the blue shards is that we can create roles within a community that don't exist in other MMOs. I think about the time that I played Rust. I cherish all the time I played Rust. I didn't like killing players. It's actually like a PvP elimination game, but I don't like to kill players. Yeah. What I like to do is, like, organize all the stuff in our bags. Yeah. Be sure that everyone had, like, their raid ready. Here's your jacket, here's your food, here's your AK-47.
Do you remember, like, we had that one girl
and
who did that for us
sometimes
too.
when you log into the game, you're going to have some, like, creepy, like, picture of a a clown looking at you, or a,
This was so important.
mural of Rick
She
and
was the
Morty
best.
in our house. I kind of liked that role of just being like,
The
I'm going to
raid
be the
mom?
one that combines things. I'm going to be the one that like decorates our house and makes it look beautiful. I'll
Wow.
never go out into combat, and that's okay. And so like, when you think about being embraced by a community, you can be valued for more than just the DPS that you put on the meter or the healing that you do to the tank, and that's really important to us.
And I'll say just one more thing, and then we really will move on to another question, but also all of those roles Candace is talking about could be asynchronous. Like, you can be the person that organizes the resources in your base. You can be the person that goes out and scouts and explores it all, so then the other people, you know, log on later that day, they find all these cool things that you discovered for them. And so in that way, you're playing solo, but you're really playing with a group, you're just not online at the same time.
Awesome. So what I heard is that Ed is going to help everyone in chat find friends if they need it.
Aw.
Personally go
I will
out.
personally matchmake you. Hit me up.
That's really amazing.
They are all friends with each other already?
This is now an MMO dating sim.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll now that we know that that's going to happen.
They need to do
Let's
that.
take another question here from chat. Mucktwow asks,
Finally.
will there be a focus on everyone should be able to get everything, or will there be a discrepancy between the hardcore gamer investing all their time and the casual who just wants to have fun?
It depends on how they affect each other.
Anyone want that? I mean, I could start.
Yeah.
We think exclusivity is cool. I
Yeah.
think it's awesome when you have a sword that nobody else has, or at least it's very
Right.
rare, and then you strut around the city and
Like
call
Thunder
it
Fury.
peacocking when other people get to see that. They're like, oh,
Peacocking,
you're awesome.
exactly,
Or
yeah.
maybe just very lucky. Flamingos. Maybe just very lucky that you got that. I think, again, when players don't have enough to do, they start to look at, I need to find best in slot for all of my equipment, and then when I do that, I'm kind of done with the character.
Yeah.
We hope we unask that question a little bit by having lots of items where you don't necessarily know where they come from. They might drop on a blue shard. We have lots of different character classes, so maybe you can be the, what was your new class you just designed? Maybe you can be the best,
The rat catcher.
the best swan dancer on the, of your friend group, or the best swan dancer NA, or things like that. So there should be a lot of different ways, even if all you want to do is compare numbers to other players. There should be a lot of different ways to do that. That's not just about gear score DPS.
Sure. Best roach snipper.
Thanks, Greg. I think the last question
I'm
that
ready.
we'll take now, and I'll
Always.
just go meta for a second,
Always
is the
fucking
weird
ready.
voice that people can't see. We are going to keep talking to players as much as we can.
I
So if we
snip
didn't
'em.
get to your question today, we will be back. We will keep talking to you. It's one of our core values. One of the last questions we'll take for today, though, is from Not Calex, who asks, where can we sign up for playtesting and feedback?
Yeah,
Many
good
of us
question.
have followed your team for years and want this game to be successful and can't wait to be part of the journey. Maybe to you, Christina?
Yeah, I love this question. And the answer is we're going to put something on our website so that you can sign up on the website. We'll let you
Okay.
know when we put it up there.
Great.
But I did want to give a little more context here about playtesting in particular. So earlier I mentioned all the ways that you could engage in giving us feedback, whether it's surveys or focus groups or things like this, right? There will also be playtests, but in the beginning of game development, playtests are small. It's usually not a lot of people get in. We will, as the game grows and as we develop the game, open the playtest to more and more players.
As long
And
as
we're
people
very
can
excited
see
about
it,
that.
that's what matters.
But I think what I want to express is that not everyone will get to playtest this year, but stay with us and
This
you'll get
year,
to
it's in
playtest
like a
more,
month.
engage with us in the
Still
other
about
ways, and there will be
2024, right?
lots of ways for us to hear your opinions and put them back into the game.
Yeah.
I even started to notice some of the hair growing back at the end of the first bottle.
This has literally changed my life. It comes in a little dropper. You just drop it all over your scalp and then just massage it in.
I am thrilled with the results.
In the 3 months that I've used this product, my hair has grown.
I started experiencing hair loss after my pregnancies.
I'm 42 years old. My hair had started to thin.
Every time I showered, every time I brushed my hair, I had just clumps.
The bald spots that I had were atrocious.
I started using this Pro serum from Vegamore.
Apply it to the spots that I felt like needed. That's where my troubled area was.
I can feel it coming back. I can see it coming back.
It is just doing wonders for my hair.
It's so much thicker than it was before.
I rarely shed.
They are vegan, they are clean, and they are cruelty-free.
I cannot recommend it enough.
to thank you all for watching. We want to thank you for
I got a lot to talk about with
all
this.
of the interest in the stream, the questions you gave us ahead of time, the questions you gave us in Twitch. We really appreciate it. You all are why we're doing this, and this is the start of a very long journey, but we will do as much as we can to keep you informed. And at some point, the person that owns this space is going to come barging in and ask what we're doing in their house. So I think at this point, we'll call it a wrap. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So let's talk about this. This was a great, like, honestly, I think this was, there were a lot of really big W's with this. I was really happy to see how much they focused on just talking about other games and having just like input and being like, oh, well, we like this in Baldur's Gate, or oh, we like this from World of Warcraft, and it's gonna be like Timeless Isle or Elden Ring or whatever. Like, that was really good. I think obviously a lot of the answers they had were pretty good. In terms of AI, this is something I said before, is that I've never heard of a game that advertises procedural generation and AI, and it's a good thing. Like, the best way to do procedural generation and AI is like this, in my opinion. Well, I don't even need to draw it out. It's like Remnant, right? Like, Remnant 2, you never hear about, like, oh, it's procedural generation, it's AI. Like, you don't hear that a lot because they just make the game, and the game is good on its own. It's like an objectively good product, and everything outside of that is secondary. So it doesn't really matter what the process is. And I think a very good parallel to this is Web3 games. Like, these games, oh, this is an NFT game, this is a crypto game. Like, nobody gives a fuck about that. People care about it. Is it a good game? Is it a bad game? And that's the factor that really matters. So I'm glad to see them not leaning on, you know, procedural generation to solve these problems, and it's just simply used as a tool. Now, the reason why Remnant 2 is so good is because Remnant 2 uses procedural generation to basically mesh together different different types of, like, handmade content. So they'll have, like, different rooms or, like, different areas that can happen. And there's, like, you know, you go into a swamp area and there's, you know, 17 different main events that can happen. And each different time there are 3 of them or 4 of them. There's like 3 to 5. And then they're strung together by things that were procedurally generated. In my opinion, I think that's the healthiest way and the best way to do procedural generation, where it effectively fills in the gaps between handcrafted content that keeps it feeling fresh. That's what I think they should do. So, number 1. Number 2, I don't think that they should just listen to what the players think and then just do what the players think they should do. Most players are stupid and they advocate for things that would make them play the game less or make them not enjoy the game as much. I do think raid lockouts are a good thing, but I also think that rested bonuses on future raid lockouts are an even better thing. So I think pacing players out so they don't just burn themselves out by playing a raid constantly is a good thing. But I also think that if somebody comes in halfway through the season, they should be able to catch up to players that have played the entire time. A good example of this is the way Conquest Cap works in World of Warcraft, and at least the way it used to work, is that you could earn like 750 each week, and then week 2 you could earn 1,500, and then 2,250, and then the next week is 3,000. Like, so if you come in halfway through the season and you really want to grind, you can catch up to everybody, but there's also not that feeling of FOMO of like, oh, I don't want to start now because I'm going to be constantly at a disadvantage. So I think that's the best way to handle that. In terms of like the tropes and the stuff that they were talking about with that, like, oh, well, we don't want to have elves and dwarves. I actually don't necessarily agree with this, and I think that in a general sense, the reason why elves and dwarves are used a lot is because there's a general sense of cultural understanding and a general sense of like cultural relevancy that these things have. And whenever you move away from them and you're not using those things that have the cultural relevancy, I think you have a big problem where people just don't necessarily get as attached to it or understand it as much. So what races does the game need? Okay, number one, cat girls. It is super important to have hot characters. Like, if you look at like a lot of these like different games, especially these gacha games, they're super popular because of their hot characters. And even you can look at it a step farther. Look at Resident Evil Village with that Lady Demescro, whatever the fuck her name was, right? The really tall chick with massive tits. Like, everybody loved that, and everybody knew who she was because of that, right? And it's important because it's very good for marketing. That's just how it is. Also, Overwatch. Yeah, the porn is more popular than the game. And then you have on top of Overwatch, you've got that, you got Lilith. Look at Lilith. Lilith is super popular. Why? Because she's really fucking hot. So you want to give people the ability to make really hot characters. I know this is a very popular thing nowadays with game development, that the idea of making attractive female characters is the only way you can empower women is by making them ugly, basically. I think this is a very bad mindset to have. And I think that you should try to make characters that are very attractive, characters that are aspirational in a way, but not mandatory. So if somebody doesn't want to play a character like that, they don't have to, but they're definitely available in the game, and people can do them if they want to. Thirst traps work really well. Look at OnlyFans. OnlyFans is massively successful, and it's completely based off of that. Attractive male characters are important too. Yeah, like Illidan is a fucking pimp. Like, absolutely. Yeah, you want to have attractive male characters. You want to have some big fucking dude. Absolutely. It's not even a question. So yeah, let me think about the rest of it. Arthas. Yeah, Arthas is a good looking dude, man. You know, diversity quota? Well, I don't really care about a quota. Like, you can have... I don't think anybody cares about having black characters in the game or having females in the game or something like that. It doesn't really matter. What really matters is that you have the option to play whatever you want. Not everybody is going to want to play that type of a character, so you give people the option to do whatever they want. And I think that's the best that's the best thing to have. But you have to have hot characters in the game. If you don't, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage, and it's silly to do. And I think also being afraid of using tropes is, I think, a bad idea, and it's not a good thing, because these tropes are what represent cultural understanding of these ideas and these concepts. So whenever you're not really using dwarves or elves, you're using something that's effectively dwarves or elves. And also, I think that people like dwarves. People like the aesthetic of these short, you know, stocky, badass dudes that live in a mountain, and they like making machines. You know, this is cool, man. And, or like elves, right? These like really hot, you know, like tall, like white hair, like different elves. Like, yeah, they live in trees and shit. People like that stuff. So there's no reason not to do it just because other people have done it. Now, I heard a little bit of like, there's kind of like a, you know, we want things to be very open, but also feel very intimate. We want things to be hot, but cold. You know, I want something to be tall, but short. And there's a little bit of like double talk of like, where do you want to end up? Because they're like, well, we don't want to innovate on something that we think is really good, what they said with the raids and the dungeons with Warcraft, but at the same time, they don't think elves and dwarves are good. I mean, I will say that, you know, contextually, elves and dwarves have been around for a lot longer than WoW's raids and dungeons have. And I think that there's plenty of games that do raids and dungeons just as well as, if not better than WoW, especially in terms of the ability to like run back and the ability to like not be inconvenienced by mistakes. So yeah, I think that they really need to, and also like this is done for like kind of meta level concern. This is the last point I want to make, is that I think the red and blue shard idea, like red shards are MMOs, blue shards are Valheim, basically, right? I don't know if this is really going to work. And I'm concerned of the tail wagging the dog, where like they have this concept of red and blue shards. And I hope the team does some thought experiments of what does this game look like without red and blue shards? Because oftentimes I see games that take this thing and everything is predicated on this idea that's just being pushed forward and, oh, we have red and blue shards, and nobody ever steps back and asks themselves the question, why do we have red and blue shards? Why do these things exist? And like, if I can compare this to something, I would say that the way that like I looked at the raids and like the raid progression, like Covenant and Shadowlands is a great example. And also like the way that I looked at raids and like raid progression before I played Final Fantasy and after. Like, do we really need a run back? No, we don't really need a run back. do we really need to have to repair all the time? No. Do we really have to rebuff? Do we really have to have like this res protection? No, we don't really need these things. These things just waste time and they just elongate the playing process. It's not enjoyable. So I think that they should probably do some thought experiments of what does this game look like without this dichotomy of red and blue shards, and think about how to make the game better overall. Because I can see the red and blue shards, it's like such a core type of thinking that I could see it being it kind of like creates rails around what the game can be. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's not contradictory with your view on things, saying the patch in retail was bad, but progressing through upgrades is important like in Classic. Is that not contradictory with you in WoW? Well, it's a matter of degree. I think that's really what it is. Like, of course, it's the amount of degree. And I'm not really talking about like the concept as much. I just use the concept as a way to describe what I was trying to get at. But it's about the degree of what it's happening is. It's putting all the eggs in one basket with the shard system. Yeah. Why is Classic so popular right now then? Well, so you're using Classic WoW as an example of why Classic is popular as an argument against wiping? Well, because Classic is such an easy game that you don't wipe. Like, how could you use such a stupid argument? Think about what you're going to say before you type it in chat.
When's the last time you woke up and felt good? Like really good. As good as, well, this guy. Aura Ring helps you get enough sleep and enough steps. It also helps you manage your stress, so you can see what your body really needs. Your body has a voice. It's time to start listening.
Lately, one way I've been able to help keep my mental health a priority has been through therapy using BetterHelp. After graduating college and now being a young adult, therapy is so beneficial so you can talk about the things going on in your life and have a licensed professional there to help guide you through your struggles. Getting started is super simple. All you have to do is fill out a quick questionnaire so BetterHelp can match you to a therapist who fits your objectives, preferences, and the type of issues you're dealing with. Different therapists have different approaches and areas of focus, so it's important to find the right person who can achieve the best results for you. Once matched, you can communicate with your therapist through their online platform or app via message, chat, or video. This is super useful for someone like me whose schedule is always changing, so I can still shoot my therapist a message anytime I need. They even have group sessions you can schedule that cover various topics that can help anyone. And when I do have my live sessions, it really just allows me to get things off my chest in a healthy, safe space. Now trust me, seeking therapy is a proactive step to ensure you're on the path to better mental health. So head to betterhelp.com today to get started.
It's been a long time. It's been a while. But we're going to be trying a new game today. A new old game. I originally played Black Desert in 2016. I remember that my day would be ruined if I had to take 30 minutes away from grinding. Do you want to create a new character? Yes. Seasonal character? Yes. Okay, well, we're not going to play a girl. Let's see, we've got her. Let's look at the different characters. Okay, this is another girl character. We don't want to go with that. We're obviously going to go, by the way, we're going to go warrior. Like, there's actually, like, we're going to look at all of them, but we're going warrior, okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, here we go. Let's look at the other ones. Hash in? What the fuck is that? That's dumb. Sage? Alright, that's kind of cool. Oh, she's hot. Okay, that's good. Oh. Wow. Oh my god. Jesus. Yeah. Wow. Okay, maybe we should, yeah, we should play Guardian instead. Okay, what about this one? Too much armor. Next, sorceress. Okay, this is, oh wow. Yeah, this is great. Look at that. Really high quality work here. Okay, this is good. Nova, what's this? All right, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Okay, Corsair. Oh wow. What the fuck? Oh wow. This actually, Jesus. Okay, and then I remember my friend played this character, the big fat guy. Yeah, the big berserker. I thought about playing this, but I think we're gonna go with warrior instead. The tamer? Wait. Oh my god. So shameless. Okay, with a boomerang? What the fuck? Next. I'm not gonna play this. I'm like 11 years old. The striker? Oh, this guy looks fucking cool. Oh shit.
Also, so that Blizzard team that was there that built a bunch of different games, bunch of old classic games, they're talking about what they're making next. It sounds like they're trying to make like a Korean MMO, but actually in a English game. So should be kind of interesting, maybe.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and talk to this guy here. This tastes
horrible.
What a bitch.
Did you really think I would eat this garbage?
Wow.
Princess, we are not in Heidel anymore.
Ugh. Whatever. Just finish the job and go home.
Okay.
Does this not make... Do you think...
Apologies.
You...
All of you! Never show your faces here again!
Okay.
Ah, you've lost your memories, haven't you? Congratulations on your first castigation. It can be a burden to earn a living at times.
All right.
Though it strikes me as odd, I heard all the black stones excavated in Serendia are being shipped directly to Calphion.
Oh, that's a city, right?
It's this Jordine's one. I pray. Stop scaring them.
I'm pretty sure it is. I can fix her. Good luck. All right, now what?
Hack and slash, boys. Look at Teapot, I guess.
So, after the patch yesterday, we actually got another secret interview with CMC on a PC Gamer article, and that revealed the fact that we are actually going to be getting a daily post on the Guild Wars 2 blog talking about all of the new weapons that are being added to the game, and a live stream as well. There's going to be a live stream on the 27th, the day before, not only the next balance patch, but also the weapon beta that's happening also on the 28th. There's going to be a live stream going over all of the new weapons, talking about all that. So, loads of news over the next kind of week and a little bit, and of course, big news there, really exciting live stream. I always love to see a live stream. It's going to be featuring CMC, it's going to be featuring Trig, and of course, featuring Roy, Nodemaster, Marks as well, I'm sure. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, that's the little preamble, the little explanation of what's going on here exactly. So obviously stay tuned for more, by the way. Subscribe. But anyway, let's do it. let's talk about what's going on here, guys. Become a force of nature with the dual-wielding Mace Ranger. So yeah, that is going to be Mace, main hand and offhand for our Ranger. And this is an article, okay, from Taylor Brooks, a.k.a. Trig, as well. Very exciting stuff. Okay, so we've got a brand new article writer and some brand new weapons. So let's go ahead and get into it. Expanded weapon proficiencies are coming in the 2024. During the second major update for Guild Wars 2 Secrets of the Obscure. Each profession will have access to new weapon and skills to utilize against the evils of Tyria. Today I'll be introducing the Ranger's new weapon set, Dual Maces. Wielding maces will allow you to become a warden of nature, tapping into the power of the land to support your allies while pummeling your enemies. You'll be able to try out these new skills during our expanded weapon proficiency beta test starting on November 28th. So, first of all, let's just go ahead and take a look at what they actually look like. They actually have a little bit of a little mini video showcase here, showing off some of the new skills. So there's this leap attack, you've got some nature coming all over the place. Might even be like a rollback, almost a little bit like Old Sword, which is kind of an interesting one. This animation, by the way, is confirmed new, which is actually pretty cool. This is a brand new animation. I definitely like the look of this. Some kind of pummeling ability where you just, like, smash. I think this is very likely to be Mace offhand. A lot of abilities that have this kind of long-channeled animation are often in the offhand. Not saying that's for sure, though. That isn't confirmed, but that's likely to be the case. Whereas I think some of the more, like, leap-oriented skills, like this stuff, this is more likely to be the main hand Mace there as well. But let's get into what these actually do. So, main hand mace and offhand mace are sibling weapons that cover different roles while also synergizing very well together. Main hand mace has strong supportive capabilities through healing and boons. As you strike enemies with mace skills, you'll bolster your bond with land, getting a new effect called Nature's Strength. So this weapon set also has kind of a theme attached to it, right? Like it has this overriding mechanic that will not only link the weapons, but it will of course work on its own too. So you gain a stacking buff that once you get 6 stacks of Nature Strength, the land will grant you its favor, and you'll gain another effect called Force of Nature. Force of Nature will reset your mace cooldowns as you grow large. That's pretty fun, right? Increasing your outgoing damage, healing, and stability. So pretty wide effect. This will work on a lot of different builds. This is definitely a pretty versatile weapon set, for sure, especially the main hand, and we'll see that here as well. Very versatile on this main hand. In just a moment. But yeah, damage, healing, and stability. So it's going to be good for some kind of build that wants to do damage, good for a build that wants to heal, and it will also give you stability, which is a generally good boon. I think, well, we'll get into exactly how we might actually see that manifest in just a moment. So here's a look at a couple of the Ranger's mace skills. Mace skill 2 is called Flourish, which damages enemies and heals allies simultaneously. Your strike causes the ground beneath you to swell with energy, and after a delay, the ground will burst. The burst deals heavier damage and heals more than the initial strike. If you hit an enemy with the initial strike, you'll gain Nature Strength, which I'll describe below. Oh, wait. I'll describe above. Look at that, guys. That is just, you hate to see that. Offhand Mace is a more defensive weapon that enhances survivability, while also providing some crowd control. Thistle Guard, Mace Skill 4, is a defensive skill that rewards careful timing in the thick of combat. You cover yourself in bramble armor, gaining barrier and stability for a moment as thorns strike outwards. Hitting an enemy with these thorns will increase the defensive components of the skill while also granting you Nature Strength. Pretty cool stuff. So again, that is, you know, another way to generate that, and also more, again, more defensive skill, and maybe the 5th skill is going to be kind of a bit of a CC skill at the same time there. So where is this going to happen? Well, number one, the Mace main hand is going to have healing and boons. This is a very natural shoe-in for a Druid build, Druid healing build. For example, because right now your main hand isn't bad. Like Axe main hand is not horrible. You have a bit of utility there with Winter's Bite. You know, you can do a little bit of damage from range. You can chill stuff. You can slow stuff down, apply weakness, bit of CC, all that kind of good stuff. So not horrible, but you know, not exactly a proper support weapon. This is very likely going to be a pretty go-to pick in a lot of situations for your heal Druid builds. And Druid is already really good, so Druid's going to be even better. Because bear in mind, you're going to get that healing modifier. That's going to be really good, and personal stability. And personal stability is honestly never bad. Plenty of situations in PvE where you want to not get CC'd. For example, while you're also healing. And of course, again, I do think this is a weapon that, of course, depending on tuning, could really see some potential in PvP. Like, Ranger has often had some pretty solid duelist builds. These days, it's more of a roaming playstyle, right? That kind of zips around the map and, like, one-shot stuff. But there's plenty of potential to actually have a lot of 1v1 potential, too. And now that you're going to have even more stability access, like, Ranger already has, like, a decent amount of stability access and ways to deal with crowd control. in PvP, but now that you're also going to be throwing in quite a bit more stability, there's going to be some stability on the offhand. There's going to be stability from Force of Nature as well. There's going to be boon access that might be some kind of sustain. It's going to be very potent, I think. Big potential to kind of bring this kind of 1v1 style of Ranger back, I think, in PvP, which again is not really where it's at right now, but it could definitely happen. That's for sure as well. Another thing I think that this has some, and this might even be semi-targeted at, is actually Heal Untamed. Because bear in mind, Untamed is going to get an extra skill. You're going to get these weapon skills, like the 5 weapon skills, but Untamed gets an extra one. You have the ambush component of this. And I think this could end up very much enabling Heal Untamed. You know, we speak about this quite a lot, right? Like, Heal Untamed is a build that's kind of, it just needs a little extra something, then it's going to be a proper full build for players to play in PvE, at least. And I think this could potentially be that. You're going to have more output from that mace. You're going to have more boon access. It will be a little bit spooky if we get some stability on a main hand weapon AoE. I think that's actually somewhat unlikely, pretty unlikely, I think, but definitely could happen. I wouldn't, you know, maybe a little bit of experimental meme getting in there for the Untamed there. Because, of course, right now you run Staff because you don't really have another weapon to run on Heal Untamed that would really do anything that well. Like, you really want that Staff Unleash skill, but there's maybe some potential if the Unleash skill for Mace is really, really powerful. That then, of course, lets you run Warhorn too, which Untamed would love to have as a weapon there. And just like broadening the boon axis of that Heal Untamed build could end up being really, really good, I think, overall. So certainly an interesting weapon set. As you can see here, maces have a fun, versatile kit that can be used with many different playstyles. I'm excited to see how they can be used with existing builds such as Support Druid, or how they can lead to entirely new archetypes, like a Bruiser that defeats their enemies in the moment of power. So, as you can see here, ArenaNet, I think we're kind of on the same page. So, the fact that they're saying this, it's like, yeah, I think we're kind of reading their intention here. We're kind of seeing what they want to do with this. And I think the design they've talked about here, some of these abilities they talked about here, definitely kind of lean into, or like kind of imply that this is the direction where it's going to go. I think it is really cool that it's going to have this little mini mechanic. I like that you can kind of like charge up your maces in a way for a bonus. Like, you build a resource, then you spend it. I think that's kind of a cool mechanic to play with. We've seen them do this on a couple of relics as well, and I think this type of mechanic can feel really rewarding and really fun when you use it correctly, because you build it up, then bam, like you whack people. A lot of combo potential. You know, in PvP, I could imagine like a mace greatsword build that builds up its nature's strength, activates it, you've got stability, and then boom, like whack them with the greatsword or something like that, or whack them with the hammer, right? And just have that really big combo. Like, line up at nature strength, land a CC combo, right, with your mace, swap over your other set, and smash stuff, right, and really go crazy. And Rangers always had this kind of combo-oriented style. Like, greatsword already leans into this a little bit in PvP, for example. Like, you know, you want to hilt bash people, you maul them, right? Like, you maul, hilt bash, maul, right? All that kind of stuff. So you already have this kind of combo style that exists, and this will probably kind of lean into that even more. And again, the kind of stuff we're talking about here, like you get barrier, more barrier if you prod people with your thorns as well, stability, it's high sustain, you've got some healing as well on the main hand, right? Like all this kind of good stuff. That play style can definitely be very developed, actually, I think, by this. So you have that other really solid melee option for your ranger build overall. I think the one thing that could be interesting here is how much damage it's going to do in PvE. It's going to be very interesting. If this could actually work out well on some of the more like aggressive ranger builds as well, maybe like a quickness untamed, for example, and give that more boon access, because boon access is the name of the game when it comes to a lot of these supported builds in PvE. So leaning into that with a weapon is very exciting. And you know, of course, this is the first post that we're talking about here. And I think that's worth kind of talking about some general thoughts here.
Meet your next pillow. Why do we make our pillow in the shape of a cube? I'll tell you.
The problem with pillows is that you're trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, or rather a pillow-shaped peg into a shoulder-shaped hole. This is Sydney.
Hello.
Look at the space between her head and her shoulder. It's a square. None of these rounded pillows are going to fit that space perfectly. They're going to cause her to bend her neck, flop her body, and twist her back out of alignment. What Sydney needs is a pillow that properly supports her neck and keeps her spine in alignment. Hence, the pillow cube. The ancient Egyptians knew this. Pharaohs used this headrest. The Japanese used these pillow boxes. They offered great support, but were they comfortable? Alex, is that comfortable?
No.
So we decided to modernize their invention.
The Pillow Cube Pro was made to fill that shoulder gap, optimized for support, comfort, and cooling. You can roll from side to side for uninterrupted side sleeping. Want to go old school? Try the original Pillow Cube.
And it's not just a great pillow for sleeping. Try it out on the airplane. Use it for office naps or as a yoga support. It's also a great meditation seat. It provides excellent lumbar support, and it's the perfect pillow for spooning. So stop wasting all your money on these fancy new mattresses and get the pillow that will support your noggin.
Whether you want the ultimate bed experience with the Pillow Cube Pro or the travel-friendly original Pillow Cube, we give you our Pillow Cube guarantee that your shoulder gap will be filled, your spine will be aligned, and you will always dream of tacos. Oh, baby, just look at those hard shells. Dance it out, Pillow Cube team. Buy the Pillow Cube today, and you can join our happy dance. Look at those moves. Work it, work it.
How does this weird tiny device help with dust and airborne pollutants? Studies show that air pollution can be 5 times worse indoors than outdoors. But an innovative new device can now ionize the air without using a filter. Clarifion is an easy, affordable way to freshen the air. This plug-in, pocket-sized device emits a steady stream of negative ions. These ions cling to dust, pollutants, pet dander, and other airborne particles, making them too heavy to float, so they fall right out of the air, helping reduce allergens in the air and help with things like sneezing, sniffling, runny noses, and worse. It's no wonder. Some hospitals use ionizers too. Clarifion helps you breathe more comfortably, yet it's affordable enough to get one for every room. It plugs into any standard outlet and goes to work immediately, emitting millions of negative ions for cleaner air. And unlike pricey, bulky air purifiers that need constant filter replacements, Clarifion is 100% filterless. There's virtually no maintenance. Simply wipe down the unit as needed. Plus, Clarifion is whisper quiet as it works. Its tiny yet powerful design is perfect for living rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms. When Clarifion was first introduced, it sold out almost instantly, and the reviews are in.
The air in my home is more crisp and clean feeling. I am beyond excited, happy, and relieved.
We live on a very busy street, which is why our house gets so dusty so quickly. It truly cuts down the dust in our bedroom.
I used to wake up stuffy and sneezing. My allergies no longer bother me. It's wonderful.
Stop living with so much dust, allergens, and pollutants in the air. You deserve to breathe fresh air. Clarifion is a one-time purchase.
These weapons, this seems to be pretty high power level. Or it seems to be like a pretty high strength, high design weapon. So it looks like a lot of the weapons that we might be seeing added are going to be pretty damn high impact. I think they're not going, I think they're making these weapons very intentionally to do something. It's like, okay, we want to make a build. We don't just want to go like, oh, look, you know, you can use a mace now. Isn't that cool? It's like, no. You can use a mace, you can use a pistol now, you can use a rifle, and it's going to do something. We are looking to enable more playstyles. And push them pretty aggressively even. Like, we want you to actually be doing this. Is that power creep? I'm not gonna lie, yes. Does Druid need to be better than it is right now? No. However, I think there can be tuning in other places, right? I think that just because one build is overperforming doesn't mean that other things, you shouldn't try to enable other playstyles, right? Like enabling stuff like Heal Untamed, like enabling more build possibilities and role possibilities in PvP. Like, if this makes Druid too good, then we can go ahead and nerf it down a little bit, right? Okay, no problem. Right, of course, everything can use this weapon, so they do have to be careful. And one slight thing that I am a little bit hesitant about is the fact that this is a hybrid weapon. I think hybrid weapons are something that Arena do need to be careful of, because a lot of the time they can kind of take over the meta, right? Like, especially if it's just good at everything. Like, Elementalist Warhorn, for example, can be a bit of a balanced nightmare if it does everything really, really well. So I think we have to be a little bit careful to make sure that the weapons don't just completely dominate like every build simultaneously if they're super, super hybridy and super, super good in every situation. But I imagine this will not be the case with all classes. I think that some classes will have a more focused weapon, right? And other classes might have something that has a little bit more flexibility so that it can be used in a number of different situations, right? That's it's interesting. I will slightly complain here as well as we get to the end of this post. It would have been really nice to actually know what every single one of the skills do, whereas here we only know Mace 2 and Mace 4, so we don't know what the auto attack is, we don't know what Mace 3 is or what Mace 5 is, so that would have been nice, but again, that is a lot of skills to go over, I suppose. So I'll give them that. And of course, we will get to see all of it, not only in the test, but also in the preview live stream. Wow, very exciting. Definitely get ready for that, guys. Get ready for that preview live stream. And get ready for your support drill. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play around with these. And a little bit of extra news here, actually. I forgot to mention this at the start. But spoiler alert, Rifle Mesmer and Support Staff for Warrior are now confirmed. They're both support weapons. This was also in the PC Gamer article. We'll link that in the description of this video, of course, if you want to have a little read there. Bit of an interview with the man, CMC himself, Balance Overlord for Guild Wars 2. But yeah, really exciting stuff. I think that I'm liking where this is going. I think it will hopefully be very impactful, right? You know, I think that sometimes now that we don't have elite specializations being added to the game, it is really important that updates like this are big. You know, like this is basically elite specs. This is the replacement, like adding new skills to the game, like adding new weapons, or maybe utility skills, maybe a core trait line, reworking stuff, right? Like relics, all this stuff. This is what's replacing elite specializations. So they do need to go pretty hard on this to really make sure that it's going to be a thing that is going to impact what you're doing, hopefully in all of the game modes simultaneously. But anyway, that is going to be about it. A little bit of a quick one. And of course, stay tuned, gamers. There's going to be one of these every day, so that means it's going to be one video every day, you lucky devils, okay? You got a content overload here, okay? I'll read the posts for you. That's what I'm here for. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this little breakdown, little showcase here. Wow, look at this. Look at this handsome devil. Like, why this outfit? It's one of the weirdest outfits in the game. I've always felt. It's like, what is this? That's a good Mesa. It's one of my favorite Mace skins, actually. It's from the World vs. It used to be unobtainable, right? It was from like the World vs. World tournament thingy, but now they kind of unleashed it again. Pretty good with the dual Maces and the bear. I like how the bear is actually more important than the character. The bear is like full in the middle, like taking up all of the space. The ranger is like the secondary character there, just irrelevant. Nobody cares about you. But anyway, that is basically going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Are you hyped about Mace Ranger? What weapon are you most excited about? You ready for that Rifle Mesmer, Pistol Elementalist? Ha! You guys are never getting Longbow. But anyway, that really is it. You should like the video. You should leave a comment. You should subscribe. And come back. Look, you're going to need the bell. You're going to need to hit the bell, guys, to get those notifications so you can see the daily upload. But anyway, that's it, gamers. Thanks for watching. I'm out of here.
This is a camera lucida. For the whole of the 19th century, it was the indispensable drawing aid for great masters and technical illustrators alike. And yet, it's virtually unknown today. In the camera lucida, you look down into a special prism where you can see your subject superimposed on your paper. You can also see your hand drawing, so you can trace directly from real life. We thought a few people might be interested in trying this obsolete drawing tool, but to our surprise, over 11,000 Kickstarter backers supported us. People really wanted to use this outdated tool to draw. So how does it work? Clamp your Neo Lucida to a table, adjust the flexible arm so that the eyepiece is above your page and looking at your subject. When you look down into the eyepiece, you will see a ghost image of your subject superimposed on your paper. Trace what you see. This is what it looks like when you look inside the eyepiece. So what can you draw with the Neo Lucida? Use it anytime you want to draw accurately from real life. Have someone sit down and draw their portrait. Take a portable easel outside and draw a landscape. Set up some flowers and draw a beautiful still life. You can even print out a photo or call up an image on your screen and use the Neo Lucida as a copy stand. When you're done, pack up your Neo Lucida in the custom pouch provided. It's lightweight.
been a long time.
So let me start just by talking a little bit about Ghost before we get to your questions.
Look at that penguin.
I want to stress we're in early development, and that means the art and ideas are not final. And that's the whole point. We want to share all this with you early so that we can get feedback, make changes, and make the game better before we are finally live. We think the right way to tackle a project as big as an MMO is to be careful about where and how we innovate. We think this is a risk when you try to innovate too much. That's what leads to a MMO with a dev cycle of 10 to 15 years, and ain't nobody up here wants that.
Ashes of creation.
We're going to be really careful where we do innovate. A great example are several of us came from World of Warcraft, and we love WoW's Dungeons and Raids. We don't think there is a lot we need to do there differently. We'll put our own spin on it. It's a different game. It's a different IP. But overall, we're not going to spend a lot of points innovating on things like that.
That's fine. Just do it like Classic, though.
We think adventuring, like going out into the world, doing quests, kind of figuring out where you're supposed to go next, has not aged super well. And we think that is a great opportunity to innovate.
That's true.
So I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, true.
So our game is set in a
really
shattered
nice. What do y'all think?
where players look out into the sky from a mysterious ancient city and see countless shards of broken worlds waiting to be discovered. This is some of our latest concept art for that setting, but I also want to show you how this has already evolved. When the team was first brainstorming about the world, I got excited and made my own sketch of how the shards might float above the city. And everyone teased me about it mercilessly. And so I drew it again in Photoshop where it looked tiny bit better. And we used this for our first several pitch decks.
I get it.
This is what game development looks like. It starts looking pretty bad. You make it better and better. You hire better artists that can actually draw. And eventually you should be able to produce something pretty cool.
Yeah.
Our art teams took these concepts and got us to our latest vision, which we'll continue to experiment with further. This is by far not the final way